65 years or older? Good news. Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. It's true. For most people, your health insurance program increases as you grow older. That's why the state of Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. If you are 65 years and older, there's one thing we can all agree on. Your health and well-being is important. Whether you are a recent green card holder or retiree, asylee or without paper, you're now eligible for the Illinois Medicaid Health Insurance Program. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. Documents needed to apply: your proof of ID, your proof of address, and your proof of income.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and welcome to the Ghana Agenda for March 19th, 2022. Today, let me just start the program by saying we are in a big trouble as a country. I'm talking about Ghana here. We are in a big economic trouble, and there are a couple of meetings ongoing, some already completed at various corridors of power in Ghana, which are going to be very consequential going forward. I'm talking about the Bank of Ghana has already met. Matter of fact, they had this meeting, which is the monetary policy meetings that they do every 2 months. They had to push it forward. In other words, it was scheduled for the 26th or so, but they have to bring it all the way down to 16th of March just to respond to the current situation we have going on. That meeting has completed on the 16th. There is another ongoing currently at Peduase, which is the one by the cabinet. It's a crunch meeting to kind of, pour down the numbers and find solution for the type of issues we are currently going through as a country. Now, why would this be consequential? The outcome of these meetings, from my perspective, is going to be very drastic to the country. In other words, there will be changes that are very drastic, that are going to bring the pain. There are going to be increases in prices. We should expect, the interest rates going up, even from the Bank of Ghana's meeting. We should expect so many different things happening. People are asking, these are the time we need lectures from the current vice president. Usually when we have this type of economic difficulties, we usually have him coming to give us speeches. So people are asking, where is the vice president? In his absence, a couple of institutions and individuals have been talking. We had a release from the IEA, which we'll be going through to see some of the issues that they've identified as things that when the government undertake that, should see some sort of relief for the country. The options are whether we go to the IMF for a bailout or whether we continue to pursue the path we are currently on, which is to pass the E-Levy, which is becoming difficult to do. These and other matters are what we've tabled for discussion. I have my guest in studio. I will be joined today by Paul Isosu of the NDC, who also doubles as a telecommunication IT expert working for a reputable company here in the Massachusetts area. Also, Lifetime Legacy, who's a student at Purdue University in the Indiana area of the United States, would be joining us to break down some of these issues. Afai is on a leave today because he has some emergency, but we'll also be joined by Dr. Atto, who is also a regular panelist representing the MPP side. He used to be our independent, but we are now classifying him as an MPP spokesperson. We will be right back after this short commercial break.
Are you 65 years or older? Good news. Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. It's true. For most people, your health insurance program increases as you grow older. That's why the state of Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS IL65 to 773-420-8976. If you are 65 years and older, there's one thing we can all agree on. Your health and well-being is important. Whether you are a recent green card holder or retiree, asylee or without paper, you're now eligible for the Illinois Medicaid health insurance program. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, WhatsApp, SMS IL65 to 773-420-8976. Documents needed to apply: your proof of ID, your proof of address, and your proof of income.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Again, my name is Alfred Amuzu. This is the Ghana Agenda. If it's the first time you're watching, this show talks about Ghanaian politics. And today we are going to go into two powerful meetings that are currently ongoing. The two topics we actually table for discussion is that the presidency is in a crunch meeting to kind of decide on solutions and options for resolving the current economic issues that the country finds itself in. Also, we're saying that the Bank of Ghana had moved forward its policy meeting, monetary policy meeting, which occurred on the 16th, and we are expecting a release from that meeting. We are expecting rates to go up, or the MPC, which is the monetary policy rate, to go up. At least others are saying we should see up to about 16.5%. I think we'll be around 15 point something percent. We couldn't just be that drastic. All right, so let me bring into the discussion Lifetime Legacy, who's joined us. I think the second thing we would be talking about today is gas prices are up. We know that. Inflation is up. We know that. However, we know that salaries are still where they are. We also know that the cedi keeps devaluating, which means that, if you buying anything that is made outside of Ghana, that you be paying high prices, gas prices, all these other things that we consume. Something as simple as toothpaste can, see prices going up. And we know that when gas prices are up in Ghana, everything follows suit. Once transportation is off, even the kenke, whatever you buy in Ghana is impacted in one way or the other. Welcome to the show, Lifetime Legacy.
Thank you, my brother. How was your week?
My week was good. How's yours? I was, as we were discussing in the background, I'm enjoying some 73 degrees out here. So I cannot wait to finish the show and get out there and see what is going on in town. So talk to me about yours. How is your, Indiana? Is it Indianapolis or Indiana?
Yeah, Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. How's Indianapolis and weather, and how are you doing with the school and everything?
Yeah, the weather was good 2 days ago, but it rained last night. And as usual, as you know, the moment it rains, it comes with the cold weather.
Okay.
So when I step out to come to the library to do a few assignments, I noticed that it's cold.
Right.
And also the school, we are on it gradually. Hoping that we go through successfully.
Okay,
maybe
so
some challenges.
Share the link so others can join. If you're watching us, please do me a favor, share the link so that others who may be interested in this program can also join and participate in the discussion. In the meantime, Lifetime Legacy, I've tabled two issues for us to discuss today. And we should be joined by Paul Disosu. I'm hoping so. I haven't heard from him yet, but we should be joined by Paul Disosu. Afai is going to be, I think he said he has some emergency, so he wouldn't be able to join us today. Is there any preliminary comments you want to make us? My version of preliminary comment is that times are hard. I mean, things are hard in Ghana today, and they are going to be even harder after these two consequential meetings that I'm talking about are done with. When the president and his cabinet are done with the crunch meeting that they are currently undergoing, they're going to come out with some drastic changes, some of which our friends in the IEA have made some suggestions. I'm talking here about Dr. J.K. Kwache, who's the director of research at IEA. IEA stands for the Institute of Economic Affairs. Had made some suggestions of things that we can do as a country so that we don't necessarily have to go to the IMF, because these are some of the same things that the IMF would recommend for the country to do anyway. But he ended up by saying, if all these things fail, then we should go back to the IMF for a bailout. Also, before we actually get the result of the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee meeting, they've released the summary of macroeconomic and financial data, which is usually kind of a summary of how we've done so far in the first 2 months of 2022. And so the numbers are all pointing to the fact that we as a country are in big trouble. And we'll be discussing some of that. We'll talk about the consumer confidence, the business confidence, which has gone, down from where it was in 2021, etc., etc. We'll look at our debt, which has enveloped. Now we are actually at 80.1% of debt to GDP, according to the Bank of Ghana as of February. On and on and on, the cedi, depreciating about 14% year to date. And just the news is just dire. But when you look on the other side, prices of commodities like gold has gone up, prices of cocoa has gone up, prices of gas has gone up, and our revenue from those individual products are continuing to increase. So, as a government, as they go into these crunch discussions, the question is, how would they leverage these increases in our commodities that we export to kind of alleviate the pain that the ordinary Ghanaian is currently feeling? And so, let me take your preliminary comments on the issues we are about to discuss. The second issue really is just, a derivative of, the one I've just discussed, which is the crunch meetings going on. And that is that, petrol prices are, going up continuously. Meanwhile, the currency is getting what do you call it? The
devaluated.
Depreciate. And so what is a Ghanaian to do when salaries are not going up? How do you survive these hard economic times? What strategies can you use? Do you have to begin to take the public transportations? What can you do as an individual Ghanaian to alleviate the pain? So let me take your preliminary comments. We'll come back and jump into the details while we wait for the others to also join.
Thank you once again for having me, and thank to our listeners and viewers. I'm glad to be here once again to share my opinion on the issues regarding our country, most especially the situation our country has found itself now as far as the economic situation is concerned.
Right.
I know my brother Ifa will be, wherever he is, will be watching us. One thing I have come to notice is that anytime the odds are against them, that is where he have emergencies. So I pray that next time, when the odd is against him, his emergencies will not come, so that he can come and for us to judge or bring our ideas for our people back home to profit.
Right.
So if he's listening and watching, my advice to him is that whenever it's a situation like this, he should not run away. He should bite the bullet by joining us to have a fruitful discussion.
Correct.
Alfred, it is a good suggesting that government, having noticed the situation the country has found itself, will go back to the drawing board to look at things that are supposed to be done to turn the situation around. But the question one will ask is,
Right.
It's like if you have a beer bottle, and that beer bottle, the beer has been used, and a different vendor, like somebody who is selling a local drink, in terms of either palm wine or akpateshi, you notice that the seller of that drink continue to use that beer bottle time and again. And the drink will be used, the bottle will remain, and then another drinks will come, and then that same bottle will be filled the drink.
Right.
What am I arriving at? What I want to
I want to find out, what are you driving at with this beer bottle thing?
Absolutely, I'm coming to the point. So
right.
I was expecting that the same people in the helm of affair have done, have exhausted in terms of ideas.
Okay.
So in a meeting like this, some of us were of opinion that they will get in fresh ideas, people who are not part of the system, people who are not part of the authority, people who have not be part of whatever they have done all these years, over the last 6 years. They will bring such people on board so that the saturated idea they already have will be revived by these fresh and new ideas.
So you're saying that, you would have expect, like you did in Senchi, where during that summit you brought in all the NDC, during the time they had difficult times in Ghana, that they brought in people outside of the party and within the government structure to kind of advise them or to kind of think together through the problems. Even some CSOs were brought on board.
Absolutely.
Do you know for a fact that the government is currently not doing that?
Alfred, my presidential candidate for 2020 and some leading members of the party openly have extended hands of invitation to the government,
right,
to get in touch whenever they need help, so that they'll be able to offer their suggestions that they have and how they went through the previous situation and how they came out successfully.
Right.
But one thing we all have noticed is that the arrogancy of this government is so legendary to the extent that they find it so difficult to extend a hand of friendship to their predecessors in terms of seeking for knowledge or ideas of how they went about stuff during our time. So my party that I know, who have the country at heart, will not decline such an invitation when it's offered for us to bring our opinion on board. After all, we are in government in waiting, and when the situation gets out of hand and we come to power, we will suffer the more. So we are ready to not to allow the situation to deteriorate before we take over. So we are ready.
You're not expecting the current government to bring in the former President John Mahama to a meeting over where they are trying to decide on what options to exercise in order to resolve our economic issues. You're not expecting that, are you?
So that is the arrogancy that I was talking about. And that is the difference.
These are political rivals. I mean, this is the highest.
Alfred, that is the difference between the NDC and the MPP.
Yeah.
Our ultimate goal as a political party is to make the life of our people better.
Now, when you did this, was it in 2014 or 15 or so, when you did a Senchi summit, did you invite the current president, Nana Donald?
Alfred, I'll come to that point. I'm building up my point.
Yeah, is this a
So,
yes? Did you invite him?
yeah, we did. We invited them, and
No, I'm saying specifically, did you invite
we
the
did.
president?
We did invite Akufo-Addo, then the leader of the opposition, and also not him alone. We invited some prominent party members also, the likes of Kojo Impionim and the likes of Safo Mafu and the rest.
Penny showed up, all right,
and they were on record to have warned their fellow those we extended an invitation to not to attend such a forum.
Right.
You get it. But we, the NDC, like I've said earlier on, we have a nation to govern, and we will not allow the situation to deteriorate or to get out of hand before we take over. So we are ready to help them with ideas. We are ready to help better the life of our citizenry that we are expecting to come back to govern to provide solutions to get their life better. We are not like them who will say that, we will take advantage of the misfortune that they have found themselves now. No, that is not the NDC. We are ready to help. At the end of the day, it is people's interest that we are looking for as a party. The very people we want in the near possible future will be governed. Welfare is what matters to us the most.
Right.
And we are ready to help them with ideas and solutions to come out of this situation that they themselves have brought upon themselves.
Well, some of the situation we are currently in is partly caused by COVID. We'll understand that. And also the international, or what do you call the geopolitical issues we currently are going through in terms of, Russia agitation, or Russia attack on the country of Ukraine, which has caused, again, or worsened the commodity shortages that we've seen, and disrupted some supply chains, especially within the energy setup, etc., etc. So we cannot entirely say this is brought on by the NPP, can we?
Alfred, I strongly disagree with you, in the sense that even as we speak, the cost of a gallon of fuel in Ghana, it is more expensive than where the war is even taking place. You see, the problem we have found ourselves now partly can be blamed on the weak currency we have as a country. And like as an NDC member who will not just talk about the problem without providing solutions, I think our economy is mostly import-driven economy.
Right.
And I am of opinion that going forward, we should look at situations where we can develop homegrown solutions, provide solutions that will can take off the pressure within our currency.
Okay.
Let me give you a practical example. Ghana is currently an net exporter of oil.
Well, yeah.
And our stake in the production, it's about 23%. So
yeah, we export, we export the crude, but we have to import back in the refined because we don't have the refineries to.
So that is what I'm coming to. It doesn't make sense to me that Alfred.
So our export of oil for the month of February alone is about $688 million.
Okay.
But then we import about $609.7 million. So
Alfred,
yeah.
Just imagine that the visionary son of Africa, who then, even when we've not started mining oil, put up an oil refinery for us. Okay, I'm referring to Nkrumah.
Right.
The Tema oil refinery, we still have it.
Right.
And Tema oil refinery, it's I am told, could provide about 40% of the demand we need as a country.
Right.
You get it? I am of opinion that the government should put use of the Tema oil refinery so that they will be able to produce the 40% of the fuel that we use in the country. They were able to refund it for us.
Mm-hmm.
If we are able to do so, we are reducing the burden on the burden that would have been on the currency by 40%. You get it? So
Right.
if, like you just mentioned, the import for February alone was around $600 million.
Yes.
So 40% of that $600 million,
Mm-hmm.
if we are to get production within our country, would have been a money that would have been within the system to alleviate the pressure that would have been on the city.
Right.
You get me?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like because people who are doing business, and we have government officials, and we have party members who are interested in making profits, they are interested in doing the importation rather than doing the production.
Right.
You get it? So this is a self-inflated problem that I think.
I mean, Thor has had, bad performance over the years, so it's not necessarily something we can attribute to. But I understand what you're saying, that this is a government that came on the idea of support for the private sector and building industries and this 1D, 1F. And one of the, basic things they could have done is invest in companies that already are, essential for the running of the countries. For instance, Thor, which it's very crucial for times like this, because if we refined our own oil, then we wouldn't necessarily be importing almost $609 million of oil in just 1 month. So I do understand where you're coming from, but the issues that we have with industries or companies like Thor have been long-standing. These are issues that predate the current government. Don't you agree?
Alfred, you see, we were promised of doing things better. Okay, that is what, let's even give the current president the benefit of the doubt. Okay, that most of the problem or the current situation as far as the importation of crude oil into the country, the refined product into the country is concerned, was in existence before he inherited power.
Right.
We were promised to get things done in a different manner. So if at the end of the day, in 6 years, we come back to say the same thing, or we are making references to the past, then it would have been better they don't come into government at all.
Okay, let's
I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
You are.
Because we were promised to get things done in a different way. So some of us were of opinion that the long-standing issues we thought, I know the previous government or our time, we institute energy sector levy to clear some of those legacy debt that Thor it's have been cared for all these years, so that they put the facility into a proper use. Alfred, I got a chance to be in VRA Tema, which Thor is very close to us.
Right.
So, and the facility for me, when you look at the problem over there, it's mostly about waste.
Okay.
If we have a serious government who want to develop the economy as far as the energy sector is concerned, the number of people working in Thor must be reduced.
Right.
And
that is the most of the government institutions, or most of the government enterprises, most of the state enterprises, loss-making enterprises at this point. Their CEOs, my understanding is the best paid in the country. Some of them getting even pay us higher. Some of them even get more money than the president.
Yeah, right. So I think
political reward. It is as a reward for party members who perhaps may have contributed heavily towards campaigns. As the party comes into government, that's who they reward with this type of jobs. But let's go into some of the suggestions, if you don't mind.
So like I'm suggesting, I am saying that it is time we put back the facility of Thor into proper use.
Okay.
Let's clean the books and then go back to use it, so that it will reduce the importation of the fuel that we the refined products by 40%. That will take off the pressure from the cedi. There are other things that if we do, we can also, for instance, importation of sugar.
Yeah,
importation of rice.
I want us to take hold that sugar thought. Let's take the Institute of Economic Affairs menu of measures to build policy credibility in Ghana and avoid going to the IMF, which is a document they've recently released. Now, I want us to take the measures they've put in those menu of things one after the other and see if one, this is possible, they are possible, or is dead on arrival, or if there's any alternatives that you think perhaps could be beneficial to implement. So the first one I want to talk to is the E-Levy. Of course, we need revenue because, of course, we can't say we're not going to go to it. So these recommendations that they've proffered is based on the fact that if we put these things in place, then we can avoid going to the IMF for bailouts, right? The first one is that, of course, we need our revenue. We need to find a way to generate revenue internally. The way to do that, number one, is to go back to the drawing board and look at the E-Levy. In this case, they are saying that instead of the 1.75% being proposed, that 1.75% be split into 1% to be absorbed by the telcos, and 0.75%, be what is charged to users of the platforms. What do you think about that?
Alfred, when we look at
I think this is something that both parties perhaps would agree to, right? Because at some point we had the NDC saying, it's the 7.5% that is the issue. Even if they could bring it to maybe 1%, then we can have a conversation and perhaps reach a compromise. There's the need to actually get to a compromise on some type of revenue measure, because otherwise we would have to borrow, to continue to sustain our programs or development programs. Now, do you think that this split where telcos take 1% and the 0.5% is what is charged to consumers is feasible? Is something the NDC perhaps will come to the table to discuss?
Alfred, with the E-Levy, for where I sit, and the intention of the government towards the E-Levy, I still maintain the position that the E-Levy is not the way to go.
If the E-Levy is not the way to go,
why am I saying this?
Marriage of problems we have.
The cats have been let out of the box. Okay.
What do you mean?
We've been told by the road minister, who happens to be an uncle to the president, that they want the E-Levy so that they'll be able to go out there again to borrow.
Right.
So we are not in any way solving situation.
But
our
debt issues has taken us to, we are about 80%, 80.1 as of February. We have 80.1% GDP.
So all the reason why, about a week or so ago, the road minister have let the cat out of the box. He have made it very, very, very clear that the reason why they want the parliamentarians to pass the E-Levy so that they will secretarize it and then go for loan for whatever they intend to do. So it is still...
I'm even doubting if that is possible, though, because we are completely shut out of the international bond market. Why? We have carried so much debt that it's not sustainable for countries to want to loan to us now. But I understand that if we have a revenue stream that we are, willing to securitize or we are willing to collateralize, then it's possible that institutions will be interested in lending.
So in a situation like this, for me, I say no to E-Levy because it looks like we are still trying to postpone the current situation to the unborn generation,
right?
Which for us as a NDC members, that is what we see this government intend to do, and that is one of the reasons why we will continue to resist and reject this E-Levy. I
Okay.
think the government, like many other people have suggested, I don't know why they are so scared to go to the IMF. We want some personally. I'm not speaking for on this particular one. This is my personal opinion.
Right.
They should go to the IMF so that we get the inflow that will be we will automatically get from subscribing to the services of the IMF. Get the inflow, and also comes with strange conditions attached. That will create some kind of discipline within the government way of doing things. And
But
for that reason,
right, we are saying that going to the IMF would come with some conditionalities, all right?
Yes. We know that it comes with conditionality.
So we are saying that if we are able to generate or whatever inflows you're recommending or suggesting here, if we are able to marshal those revenues internally, those inflows internally ourselves, then what will be the necessity for going to IMF just to get conditionalities that perhaps we can impose on ourselves? They've outlined a few of them.
By so doing, Ghanaians are already suffering. Okay. If we allow the government to use the homegrown solution, it is going to burden the Ghanaians the more.
How? Same issues will come when we go. Same restrictions will come when we go to the IMF anyway. So, what would make the suffering the more, whether it's applied by us or it's applied by IMF?
Okay. So this is the situation.
Yeah.
Let me link it to a student who decided not to do. Who knows that at every weekend he must do his homework, and failed to do his homework.
Okay.
If that student go back to school on Monday and he's caned for not doing his homework, the next time when he get an opportunity to do the homework, he or she will do it without any punishment again. What am I saying there? I'm trying to say that the indiscipline of the government is so legendary that they need somebody that will put them on their toe.
So, in other words, you don't trust the government to be what do you call it?
Alfred, do you
control themselves?
Even though you are a host, do you trust our government?
I asked the question, so just answer.
Okay.
All right. So basically, you're saying that you don't trust the government to be disciplined enough to actually.
I don't think so.
So you need somebody to hold them accountable. Okay,
absolutely.
Great. So
and beside that, there is no guarantee that when we allow the E-Levy to go, the 6.9 billion that they expected to make at the end of the year, there is no guarantee that they will make it, because you know what? There is a research that will be released by Bank of Ghana. I think I had it on one of the network. I think Joy FF, if my memory serves me right, that the number of people who use the Momo platform, the quantum of transaction that goes on over there have declined as a result
I
of.
have the number here. If you look at the money, if you look at the summary of economic data that was released, which is going to be on page 12 of it or so, page 12 or page 11 here, it shows you what we gain, the number of mobile money transactions. So total transaction number of transactions is actually 10.3 million. It went down as of December. It was 12.2 million. Now it's 10.3 million. So we shared about that is as of January. So we shared about 2 million people. I don't know what that number is in February, but the trajectory has been that the highest we've seen was in September of 2021, which was 13 million transactions. Then in October, it went down to 12.1 million transactions. In November, it went to 12 million transactions. and in December, it went up again to 12.2 million transactions just before going down to 10.3. So we are 10.3 now.
Okay, and I can tell you that if it continue, if as soon as this E-Levy thing is allowed to pass, the traffic will reduce.
Right.
Because let me tell you, let me share personal experience with you. In as much as I'm not in Ghana, I use Momo a lot to do transaction. Okay, and as soon as this E-Levy thing, mostly it is from my account to my mobile phone and my mobile phone to other people and that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm able to use my mobile phone to do things around, even though I'm not in the country.
Right.
As soon as this E-Levy thing is passed, I'll stop using that traffic. I'll find a different alternative.
Okay, so you're one of those who are going to drop out of
absolutely.
that market. Well.
And
now,
I know there are a lot of people out there who
would also drop off.
Also drop off. So
let's look at
10 million that you witnessed. It was as a result of the what do you call it?
The E-Levy discussions.
Absolutely, the displeasure towards the E-Levy.
Okay, let's move to other things that can also be done for revenue generation anyway. One of them, which was again suggested here by Dr. J.K. Kwache, who is the director of research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, is that we passed the tax exemption bill to reduce the scope and scale of exemptions. He also says we enforce the tax compliance, especially by professionals, so that people can pay their taxes. If you work in the formal sector and you're not paying your taxes, there has been an institution set up called RACE, which is supposed to be the tax enforcement outfit of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And he's saying that we should actually ensure that we can enforce that. And then he said we should also introduce a segregated corporate tax regime where foreign companies in Ghana should pay 35% of corporate tax, while domestic companies continue to pay the 25%, which is what is currently prevailing. I have some ideas about that. I think this is going to definitely be the Achilles heels. It will definitely drive some companies out of the system because that is such a steep tax rate, right? And then he also introduce a temporary windfall tax of 10% on excess profit. So companies that will make excess profit, that we should put a 10% increase on, and we have to establish a threshold where if you make, or you hit that threshold, you trigger the additional 10% of taxation. And he said we should abolish the current import benchmark discount of 30% for general goods and 10% for vehicles. So these are some of the things you think we should do to actually mobilize additional revenue so that we don't go to the IMF. So first,
I agree with some of the suggestions.
Which one do you agree with? So the first one is,
cutting, what do you call it? Avoiding the tax waiver for, that is one of the things I agree with.
Tax waiver for which one?
For institutions and companies that are coming into the country.
No, so he said we should have a segregated tax system where we have 35% tax for foreign companies, but who would bring their business to your country if you're charging 35%, income tax?
So it's one of them that I don't agree with.
Yeah, for every dollar that you make, or for every one CD that you make, you, the company, keep 65% and give 35% to the government. That is
too outrageous.
That's too much.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that. And what do you call it? I also don't agree with the charge on the importation of goods and services. Let me explain. Alfred, I know you and I here would like to be
the benchmark value. You think they should abolish the benchmark discount of 30% on general goods and services? When you do that, you give some sort of competition, because when you give that amount of discount to people who are importing, it kills domestic companies. That's what we are saying. Let's say you bring in tomatoes in from wherever country, and your tin tomatoes that you're bringing in is getting 30% discount, and I am domestically producing the same tin tomatoes, you can be at the price advantage compared to me.
Absolutely.
So why would you disagree with
But
something?
let's look at the opportunity cost here. Which of these two will give us more revenue?
I mean,
I'm asking this because if the duty is so outrageous to the extent that the person cannot import to the country, the person will also not the government will also end up losing revenue at the what do you call it, the harbor. You get it? So you look at which one. I am not saying that.
I mean, what we have is the discount and the people continue to import.
The government, there are other ways. There are other ways at which the government can do it for those producing within the country can be competitive. We give them a low tariff as far as power is concerned. Okay, reduce the amount of their tax that they pay. If they are supposed to pay 25% of their distinct income, let them pay 20 or.
We need revenue. You're talking
yes,
about
we need revenue. You see, if the moment I'm looking at it in a way that if you try to get the lion size of revenue, you end up losing everything. If the person cannot pay, what will the person do? The person will fall out of business.
Right.
You get it?
Right.
So instead of you,
he's saying that we should be careful so that our
absolutely. So instead of, even though you want to make the revenue, don't do it in a situation in such a way that the person will go out of business.
Right.
You get it? So for instance, if I decided that I had the intention of shipping about 2 cars to Ghana, okay, and the government has to make about, let's say, 20 or 30,000 from my as duty from my shipping, okay, and the duty is such a way that I am unable to afford the duty. The car will remain here, and the revenue, the duty that the government has to get by me selling the car, he will also not achieve it. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
Yeah.
So
how about
as much as you want the revenue,
right?
You should do it in such a way that the person who want to do the importation can also afford, so that continuously he send those goods for you to continue to make revenue. But if you want it all at a go, you end up losing everything. That is all that I want to say.
Right. How about the tax exemption bill? You think it should be passed?
Yes.
All right.
Because I don't see why, in as much as I believe that people who want to establish businesses need to be helped in a certain way, I think the quantum is too outrageous.
Right.
Yeah, if maybe they will allow them to pay the duty that they are supposed to pay, and then they are giving some small tax holidays whilst when they finish setting up their business, that for me will make sense than avoiding the initial what do you call it, tax.
Okay, great. So the next thing, suggestion from our director of research here says that we take measures to reduce expenditure, which of course I applaud. I definitely want that to happen. He says, we should reduce the number of ministries from 30 to 20. Okay. And we should reduce the number of ministers currently from 86 to 56, including the regional ministers. In other words, have 40 substantive ministers in addition to the 16 regional ministers. What do you think about that?
I agree.
But others argue that, I mean, this is a scratch. This is not really going to impact the budget as much, or it's not going to, cut as much into our current expenditure. But if you look at it, go ahead.
In as much as I agree, there's a saying that goes that a little drop of water
Mm-hmm.
make a mighty ocean.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So if the government decided to reduce the number of ministers,
Mm-hmm.
automatically the country will be saved with some money.
Okay.
Don't forget that the per diem, the traveling allowances, the house allowances, the garden boy, the garden girl, and all those things are all privileges that are at the disposal of these people.
Okay.
So the moment we reduce the number of ministers, we are making some savings that at least can pay 2
How
or
about
3
the
teachers.
ministries? So, how about the ministries? Is they want to reduce the ministries?
But
He suggesting
I'll
that
come to
we
that. For instance, there
to
is no need, for instance, to have a situation, a ministry like aviation,
and railway,
transport, and then harbor. These
railway.
are all should be manned by one person. You get it? So over here, you are having 3 separate ministry that can be made one.
Right.
Okay, and if you are able to do so, you are saving money that would have been used to pay 4 people.
And
You
the
get it?
medicals, the assistance, the allowances,
Absolutely.
and,
You would have been saving
you know,
money that could be used to
deputies
pay
and all that.
4
Yeah.
people, and that money can pay at least 10 teachers. You get it? So
Okay.
we will be making some savings, and also the president must reduce his means of traveling, or also, if possibly, reduce the number of traveling that he have to
Take a
do.
bicycle to the riding a
I'm not saying
bicycle.
he should use bicycle, but now we are living in a information technology world where
Right.
it is not necessary you making presence to all meetings. For instance, yesterday, when the US president wants to talk to the China president, they spoke through Zoom.
Right.
You get it? I mean, this is how some of these things should be adopted, and not to go and rent $14,000-$18,000 flights and park it somewhere
Yeah, the
whilst you're
last time the
sleeping,
president went to
and
Dubai,
you still be paying money for all those things.
he
So,
went to Dubai commercial, so it's a signal that he has changed in one way, right?
so well, we hope he continue. Those situations could have been avoided if he didn't go that way.
So a couple more suggestions here. He's suggesting that they slash executives pay by 20%. Enforce the 20% reduction in the ministries, departments, and agencies' budgets. He's saying that they should introduce a government parent co-sharing arrangement for the free SHS, where the parents take some cost on themselves, and the government to sponsor the rest. I hear other variations where people saying that certain schools that are like the tier 1 schools are usually attended by people who are well-to-do, and that they should be made to pay, and the resources that are targeted towards supporting those schools be used to complete some of the day schools that President Mahama has started. There's also the suggestion that you should abolish NAPCO entirely, and freeze allowance for nursing and teacher trainees, impose a temporary freeze on recruitment into the public sector. This is like deja vu all the way back to 2014, 2015.
Alfred, is it that when you started mentioning the thing, I started smiling?
Yeah.
I am smiling because, you see, the NDC, NDC, like what do you call it? We are visionary.
Right.
We are able to predict the future from now. Okay, NDC is on record, or let me say, my proud presidential candidate for 2020 is on record to have said that progressively, and people say no. And he's on record to have said that let the teacher trainees, the nursing trainees, who are now treated as tertiary, goes to the what do you call it, student loan trust scheme,
right?
So that these kind of allowances and stuff can be used to build more classrooms and more hospitals for it to create employment for those people so that when they come out of their training, they'll have enough job in the system to do.
Right.
People in authority now, populism, we're saying, that, hey, no. We free SHS, this kind of thing.
Right.
So we are just watching, and to borrow John Muhammad's word, posterity will be the best judge.
All right.
So here we are. The posterity has been his best judge.
Okay, let me take this quick comment and then we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll finish the rest of the suggestions here. So the ones we've discussed so far are the fiscal policy related suggestions that is made. There is one more we'll talk about, which is within the fiscal policy realm. Then we move into some of the suggestions he made for monetary policy, options that we can undertake so that we can avoid going to the IMF. My brother, Kofi Sichope, aka Filippo, is watching us, and we appreciate that. He says, no, bro, he used commercial flights to Dubai because of his entourage. So what he's saying is that, because he's taking so many people with him, even if he has rented the $14,000 an hour jet, he wouldn't be able to accommodate everybody. So he has to go commercial.
So maybe that could be the reason why, for the first time, he will go with a commercial flight. So
are you suggesting that the president hasn't changed and there's more to do on his part to the people that he's tightening his belt at the same time that he's asking everybody else to tighten their belt?
Time will tell if he have indeed changed.
Okay. All right, quick. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we would discuss the other suggestions, recommendations that are coming from the CSO, in this case, the Institute of Economic Affairs, specifically by Dr. J.K. Kwache, who's the Director of Research for that institutions. We will be right back. Welcome back to the show again. My name is Alfredo Muzu, and we've been discussing Ghana's economy. We are saying that we are in really hard time, tough times, and that is going to take some drastic measures to actually dig us out of the hole we've dug for ourselves. And currently, there are two ongoing discussions to arrive at options, solutions that perhaps would be helpful for alleviating the pain of the Ghanaian. Some are recommending that we go to the IMF. And what we've been doing so far is looking at options that could, if undertaken, help us avoid going to the IMF for a bailout. Some of these options are things that we believe the IMF will impose on us in terms of conditionalities anyways. So why don't we do it for ourselves? Why don't we mobilize the revenues for ourselves? Why don't we cut down on expenses for ourselves? Why don't we reduce the number of ministries that we currently have and reduce the number of ministers from the 86 that we currently have to perhaps 56? These are some of the suggestions we are getting from a reputable CSO in Ghana called the Institute of Economic Affairs, the IEA, and it's coming from their Director of Research, Dr. J.K. Kwache. The last one on the fiscal policy session of his list or menu of recommendation is that he wants us to reduce the fiscal deficit from the current 7.4% that we have in our budget to 6.0%. I would say that we should even take it further. Perhaps we should reduce it from the 7.4% to 5% so that we are within our fiscal responsibility as provisions, which requires that our deficits should only be up to 5%. We waived that during the COVID times, and we are continuing to, borrow and spend, and that has led us to where we are today, where we have a GDP, where we have debt to GDP of 80.1%, which has caused the international bond markets to completely shut us off because we are unable to pay our debts the more we continue to compare. So I do have here with me my friend, good friend, Lifetime Legacy, helping digest some of the suggestions that we've received from our Honorable Dr. J.K. Kwache, Director of Research at IE. And I think he's going to be the only one with me today since I'm not getting any information from the rest of the team. So the last one here, what do you think about this one? He's saying that we should reduce our deficits, our fiscal deficit from 7.4 to 6% to boost credibility of the budget. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good suggestion.
And what that means really is that we should, it literally means that we should reduce our expenditure. All right. Either we reduce our expenditure or we should find a way to increase now, because we are not even getting the
revenue.
The E-Levy this year. We haven't gotten the E-Levy so far, and we are almost, the first quarter of the year is almost gone, which means that this fiscal deficit projection or target of 7.4, we are not likely to realize that unless we cut down expenditure. So essentially what he's saying in that is we need to cut down expenditure drastically. Is that your thinking as well? And
I think that is the way to go.
So
when you look at the situation as it is now, debt and amortization, interest payments and amortizations,
that's the
salary.
The question I was going to ask is, we are all saying cut expenditure, but from where? Where are we going to cut from?
Okay, so when you look at it, like we have shared before we went on break, the government is able to reduce their internal expenses if they are able to do that, and then when you look at it critically, meaning there is not going to be expenses on goods and services. So even though the system is choked, it is better we look at the statutory payments, those that there's nothing we can do, like paying of salary, which are very, very important. We look at those ones, look at the interest, our loans that we've taken, and those ones are something that we have to honor. If we're able to honor those ones and reduce the budget for intended projects and other expenses, that is the only way we can go. Because when you look at it, the government its own projection, apart from the E-Levy, which for now it's not going to see that day of light. You notice that the amount they want to generate through taxation, it's too ambitious. There's no way they could realize that one also. So the only way we can live within our means is to the only way we can reduce some of this is to live within our means by not engaging in so much expenses, and also reduce the size of the budget.
I mean, the question is, when you say reduce expenditure, we know that we have to pay the interest we've accumulated on our loans. If you don't do so, you're going to be in default, which would even be a bigger problem. We know that we have to pay salaries of our workers, public sector workers. Otherwise, you're telling us to reduce the number of employees or, fire people. Of course, when we freeze public sector employment, that would save a little bit, but we still have to meet and honor salary of the public sector workers month by month. Understanding we've been struggling to even pay that right now, but also the two together, those two things, salary and interest payment alone, will take off up all the revenue. So we still have to go back and borrow. So the question is, I mean, when we said reduce, we've dug ourselves a hole that is really, really hard to fill.
Well, Alfred, so you agree with me. That's why some of us are of opinion that in order to go in for borrow that will come with a huge interest, the government should do the needful by. You see, the reason why this government is afraid to go to IMF is because of their own utterances and comments they have made in the past.
It's political, pretty much.
You get it. So they should put the arrogancy somewhere and eat a humble pie.
Right.
Because
so the thing is political. They've promised that it's lazy. It's a lazy approach to go to the IMF, and they write on to government.
Here we are with the
go to the IMF to take a loan, because that would mean they are defeated, or that the whole idea of not going to the IMF as a lazy means of actually solving economic issue will be defeated.
So a great leader is someone who will tell his followers that, oh, I thought I was right, but I got this one wrong.
You got it wrong, yeah.
You got it. It is, you need not to put up behavior of arrogant behavior.
But do you think they got it wrong though? Because I mean, nobody anticipated COVID, right? You couldn't anticipate that Russia was going to attack Ukraine. That would disrupt.
I don't want us to use COVID and this Russia.
COVID is a reality, though.
I disagree, because when you look way back in 2019, the situation was getting out of hand before COVID. And besides, let me also remind you, COVID rather was a blessing to us than a curse. Because of COVID, we got 32 billion.
Yeah, but how much is 32 billion to what do you mean 32 billion?
Yes, we got 32 billion cedis as a means of from donors.
32 billion?
Yeah.
Let's break it down for me. Let me understand how we got that.
So how much did IMF give us? How much did the
32 billion cedis?
Yeah, that is what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, we can arrive at that.
You got it.
The
so if 32 billion could not do anything for you, free money that was given for you, if could not do anything for you, what will 6 billion do?
Right.
You get it. So the situation is not about what you want, it's about how you spend what you have.
Right.
You get it. So for me, I still believe that they should eat the humble pie by going to the IMF. That comes with discipline, and we'll get some inflow. And some of these things that are being mentioned by Institute of Economic Affairs, which are obvious things that these people will be solutions that these people will be preferring to us. It won't come with just a solution. It will also come with some kind of inflow. I don't know if I'm making sense. So
it wouldn't be only conditionalities. It will come with some inflows.
Absolutely. Correct. So those inflows can go to provide solutions to some of the things that we don't have solutions for, or we don't have money to do. You get it?
Okay, great. So let's look at some of the monetary things that he said. Monetary things. So monetary things means what can the Bank of Ghana do? Okay. The fiscal ones that we talked about is what can the government do? The government, meaning the executives, what can they do with their policy making powers? For the Bank of Ghana, he's suggesting that we increase the policy rate, which is the monetary policy rate, which is currently at 14.5%. He wants us to increase that to 16.5%. Isn't that too drastic?
I think that is too drastic. That will have pressure on the institutions that want to do business locally.
I think we should do about 15.5.
Yeah.
We should give it 100 basis point increase, and then wait to see how that helps with the inflation issue, because apparently there's so much money flowing through the system, and that has caused inflation. So definitely increasing it by 16.5% is drastic from my standpoint, but perhaps 15.5.
15 probably might do.
We should know that pretty shortly because we are aware that the bank met on March 16th, and hopefully by Monday we should have the press release from them announcing the decisions they've undertaken. And I believe that we will find out what the new rate is by Monday. I was of the opinion the whole time that keeping this rate at 13.5% throughout 2020 through 2000 and some part of 2021 was political, because it was clear that we had inflation creeping up, and when you have inflation going up, you want to control it using your policy rate or your risk-free rate, and we have kept our risk-free rate at 13.5% for a very long time. And whenever you ask, they point to the fact that the economy is doing well, and that is what we are. That's why we are doing so. For within 2 months, for the economy to go down this much, that tells you that the seeds of the non-performance of this economy or the troubles in the economy has been there for so long, and we've ignored it for political expediency. What do you say to that?
I agree with you. I agree with you and also with them. So, like we all have suggested, 15% to start with will be the needful, so that it doesn't also come with so much pressure. So if they do it by 15 and monitor it for some time, and there's a need for them to review it, why not?
All right. Yeah. So quickly, the last one I want us to talk to, then we can move on to the issue of the gas prices and the CD and what can be done as individuals, not from the government standpoint. I think we've exhausted, what the government should do at this point. But the last one, we think that, the bank or Mr. Dr. Kwache is suggesting here for the bank is to increase the primary reserve requirements, which is the amount of money the banks have to keep with the Bank of Ghana before they can lend money out to,
institutions that need them.
Yeah, they need. Currently, it's at 8%. They want us to increase that to 10%, and this is again, would help curb, the excess liquidity in the system. In other words, for you to, do loans, that you need to keep at least 10% of your loans that you've sent out there in the bank as sort of a guarantee for your loans. What do you think about that? We are increasing this from 8% to 10%. Drastic. I think some of this could be a reason why a bank will fail. So why would you want to do that at this time?
I don't think this will help the institutions. So maybe I don't know what the research went into that particular option or that particular suggestion.
Right.
So, but it's something they should look at it again. That might put too much pressure on the system. Okay. So if they look at it again, that'll be fine.
Okay, so great. And his suggestions or the suggestions from the Institute of Economic Affairs with regards to things that perhaps this crunch meeting that we see our government's president and his cabinet, my understanding is all MPs from the majority side were also there, all ministers were there, and key members of the NPP were all summoned at Peduase for these discussions. And we are hoping that some of the solutions proffered here, some of the things discussed here, are the result of that meeting. But he ended up by saying that it is important that the government and the Bank of Ghana collectively take these measures to restore investor confidence and gain needed policy credibility. Failure to act accordingly will only worsen the economic crisis that we currently find ourselves in. Widening the spread of Ghana's bonds, decreasing access to international bond markets, growing disinvestment from local financial markets, and growing pressure on the cedi. He said, should this crisis continue, and this is the key part, should this crisis continue, the government should be forced to seek the needed policy credibility from the IMF, which is expected to recommend the very measures that the government might fail to initiate by itself. So, and back to your point, if we don't trust that this government would actually implement this austerity measures that we've just described in these conversations we've had for the last 1 hour, if we don't believe that our government is disciplined enough to implement these austerity measures, that by not implementing them, then it may be necessary for them to go to the IRS to impose the same measures on them. Why don't they just go to the IMF?
So you see, this comes back to the very point I was making initially.
Yes.
Okay, and for where I say it, there is no way this government, when you allow them freely to implement some of these things, they will be able to do it on their own.
Right.
You get it? So why do you wait till the situation get out of hand before you go?
Right.
You get it? So the earlier, the better for us. The earlier, the better for us. They should go, for me, which I think, so that we begin to be benefiting the fruits that come out of going to the IMF, and also impose some kind of discipline on the government. For me, I think the government, aside of the arrogance that they are being displayed, probably there might be other reasons that will probably expose them the more. That is why they are reluctant, or they are dragging their feet in going. Because that is, from look of things, it's long overdue. In 2006, prior to 2016, situation didn't got to where we are now before the NDC went to what do you call it?
IMF.
The IMF. You get it. The situation did not got to this level before.
We didn't get this much,
That is it. We didn't got to this level before. So the earlier, the better for them. The better for all of us as a situation also.
All right, great. So awesome. Let's take a look at gas prices. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Since the invasion of Ukraine by Iran didn't do that. Not even Iran, this is Russia. Since
Russia and
Ukraine by Russia.
Ukraine.
Yes, we've seen some, astronomical increases in gas prices. Even we in the United States, this is worldwide. We are all feeling the pinch, right? And countries, for instance, in the US, we know that Biden had promised releasing, the stockpile of reserves that they keep for emergency periods. We in Ghana, we've had things like stabilization levy that we've introduced as part of the XLR. Was it as part of the XLR or separating on its own?
It's separating on its own.
And that tax or levy, it's actually meant for times like this when prices are astronomically high temporarily, that we can provide some relief. Now, you would expect that there would have been some accumulation of funds in that
2.2 billion.
Right. Which at this point could be used to subsidize or could be used for the intended purpose for which the fund was formed to start with. So my question is, what can we do about gas prices in Ghana? We are not refining enough to meet our own domestic demands. If you look at it, we are importing 609 million just for the month of February alone of refined, oil. Meanwhile, we are exporting about 688 same month, which kind of gives us that, positive gap. But it would be important if we could actually refine those oil resources in our own country so that we would not have to import as much. But like we said, we have the stabilization fund as a way of alleviating the pain of the citizens during these times. What can the government do with that fund at this point? But essentially, as individuals, what can we do? Should we, because during the time of COVID, we've done things like working from home. If it is possible, those who can work from home, can we have them sort of increase that capacity so that people can actually work from home. This will reduce traffic on the street. I'm just thinking about ideas now. This will reduce traffic on the street. People talk about the public transportation systems, Ayalolo buses, all these buses that we've procured in the past. What is their states? Can we reintroduce, like even the STCs? Can we get some of those onto the streets, especially in the capital, where people intend to travel a lot to and from places, using their own private cars, just to kind of alleviate so that we can somehow find alternatives of transportation. I know that people who are driving private car would not necessarily, I don't know if they would be interested in dropping their private cars and jumping into public transportations, but if those options are available, perhaps it could help. What do you think? What is your...
Alfred, I think I can agree with you the more that ways and means have to be developed out of the situation. Practically, like you have mentioned, this is the time public transport, it's of essential, or it's very, very important.
Right.
I know during our time, once again, the visionary John Mahama procured these Ayalolo buses. They started the pilot where from Amasama to Accra.
Right.
If this government had continued the situation by now, we would have replicated it all over. And this, in a difficult time like this, people jumping into the bus wouldn't have been a new thing. It should have been something usual with them. So I think, like you said, if institutions, owners of institutions will agree that their employees are working from home, that for me, it's also a way to go, just to reduce their income, expenses in their income as far as transport is concerned. But some are inevitable. For instance, those working in the construction field, those working in the market,
right?
They don't have any option.
I mean, so if people begin to work from home a lot, what that would do is it was going to impact traffic in a way, right? Because majority of the fuel is burnt sitting in traffic in Ghana.
And besides, because we also don't have a good road network, the traffic situation will end up taking most of the fuel that you buy. It's so amazing, Alfred. From when you look at it critically, in the next 2 months, 100 Ghana will just give you 2 gallons of petrol.
No, I mean it's
no. I'm saying in the next 2 months.
Yeah, a liter it's 10 Ghana, right? So, you need 5 liters to make a gallon. So you are right. You get right.
It. So that is where we are heading towards, and I think we need to think around the clock, and if we can also reduce these higher performing engines to maybe 1.2, 1.3, or 0.9 liters engine, that can also help. To those who want to still live luxury, those who still want to live luxury can afford Uber and Bolt and all those stuff to for the time being. They should do this to wait for NDC. When we come,
what would the NDC do different? What would the NDC do, especially to deal with this particular crisis that we are in right now? What would
you mean when we come to power, or now?
If you were to have power now, what would be the different solutions?
Okay, so if we were to be in power,
IMF, right? Which would have asked you to
hold on. If we were to be in power, practically, these are some of the solutions we would have come out with.
Right.
One, within getting to almost the last 4 or 5 days, so let me say about almost a week now, the price of the crude oil is gradually coming down.
Right.
Okay. Now, the problem within Ghana is the exchange rate. The dollar, I'm told, as at this morning, it's around 8.2.
Right.
Okay. So the problem is that you need so much to convert into dollars, cities to convert into dollars to do the importation. So if NDC were to be in government, what would have done differently is to put the Tamaore refinery at work. That will save us 40% of the imports. That is one thing we would have done. By now, and if NDC were to be in power, the Commander Sugar Factory would have been in production, where it would have reduced the number, the amount of money we spend
that you import,
to import sugar, and that would have reduced the pressure on the cedi. You get it? So those are some of the things we would have done. We would have also resourced our rice farmers to produce more rice locally for us to enjoy, rather than spending so much to do the importation of rice. So those are some of the solutions we would have put in place by now to reduce the pressure on the cedi that will essentially go to impact the cedi to the extent that we need so much to import the crude oil, the refined product into the country. So like I said, one of it is we would have put store into production, which would have saved 40% of the situation. So those are some of the things we would have done to reduce the distance, and then also cut some of the waste within the system.
Right.
We won't have 100 and more ministers in administration.
They only have
that would have also saved the country some money. And the last but not the least, we wouldn't borrow like these people have done, which will need us to be paying interest for us also to put pressure on the cedi.
Right. Okay, so yeah, you've mentioned the cedi. The cedi has actually depreciated significantly over the years. Just from 2021 all the way through to now. Matter of fact, in April of 2021, the cedi actually appreciated by 0.5%. It appreciated by 0.2% in May. Then it started a decline in August.
You know why? The reason is very simple.
Why?
It is post-COVID situation. So because at that time we are not doing more of importation, that creates some kind of stability within the system.
Right.
So when you look at it technically, it started picking up when
they opened the airport and the vaccines and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Okay.
So you see that there's 1.6% decline in August. In September, there was 1.8%. Then there was a 2.4% by October. By November, there was a decline of 2.7%, 4.1% in December, 0.3% in January of this year, and then 9% in what do you call it? I'm talking about year to date though. So then you have all the way up to 9% by February, and by March, 14%.
It started running.
Yeah. So 14.6% decline. So it is that there is something going on here with the cedi that we need to deal with, and this is when, of course,
we needed the cedi Messiah, Dr.
The cedi Messiah, Dr. Bob.
Unfortunately, he has gone mute, and where you cannot find him anywhere.
All right. Anyway, Dr. Ford is the director of ACO Radio, always supporting the team and the work we do here. And we are appreciative of his support. He's saying Ghana Agenda is more fire. All right. So we are hoping that others will join to see. But of course, we are happy with our viewers each week who are able to share our links to their friends and family who may also be interested. I wanted to take a look at the commodity prices quickly. We know that the price of some of the things we export have also gone up. So the question being asked is, should we at this point subsidize the Ghanaian consumer a little bit from the windfall we are getting from this price increases? So let me go from cocoa. cocoa is now selling as the highest price we've ever had. Of course, in September, it went all the way up to $2,627 per ton. Matter of fact, in October, it actually went up again to $2,632 per ton as we speak today. All right. And then it declined from November, December, all the way to 2,400. Now it's at 2,000. I'm talking about in February. Cocoa is trading at $2,659, the highest it's ever been in years.
Yeah.
And that is and that is about 7.2% increase from what it was last year. That's cocoa. Gold has gone up to about $8,849 per ounce, right? 1,800. That is the highest we've seen in a very long time. And oil or Brent crude oil prices, that has gone up from the 65.
Estimated.
Matter of fact, the same in February of last year, 2021, crude oil was trading at $62.3 per barrel. Today, it's at $93.5. Matter of fact, as of February this year, it was $93.5 per barrel. This is a significant increase in the price of crude oil, and it's going to impact our revenue, or it has impacted our revenue from crude. And so the question being asked is it time to get some relief from this windfall that we're getting? Is it time to channel some of that revenue to the consumer or to cushion the price of gas so that we are not paying $100 for just 2 gallons?
Okay. Like we mentioned earlier on, the price stabilization account, we are told have accrued 2.2 billion.
Okay.
If the government even decided that they will use that money to cushion the citizenry,
right,
they would have still do that and still have a win situation, like the prices that they are enjoying now.
Right.
So even though in as much as this government is so disingenuous, they are disingenuous to the extent that they are claiming that the prices is going up because of Ukraine and the Russia war.
Right.
But at the same time, they are not talking about the benefits that the war has come with. Right. You get it? So for me, instead of them to be shifting blame and be passing on the excess onto the Ghanaian consumer, they should rather either use the price stabilization money that have accrued.
Yeah, the 2 billion.
To cushion the Ghanaian. Whilst they continue to make the revenue. Don't also forget that when the refined products are imported, they are also making profit over there too.
Yeah, it's just what is hard to reconcile is in one breath we talk about how we don't have enough revenue, therefore we need to go and borrow. We need to go to the IMF. Then we say, well, we are getting windfall, but we should give the windfall to cushion people.
Okay, I am not sure I did mention that the windfall should be used to cushion the citizenry.
Okay.
I was specific that the price stabilization money that have been accrued for
right
for
its purpose, right?
Absolutely. I was conscious enough not to mention that the windfall that we are benefiting as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war and that this thing should be the prices, the windfall we are enjoying from the cocoa, the gold, and oil. I was conscious not to mention that those money should be used to caution the citizen, because I know very well the situation we found ourselves. So that will be the last suggestion or option I'll provide. But I was emphatic by saying that we should use the price stabilization that have been accrued all these years to stabilize or to cushion Ghanaians whilst we are waiting for the right time, while the CD Messiah, Baumia, and the rest work on the CD for the exchange rate to reduce, and also whilst the internationally the crude oil prices also is coming down. So I won't provide a solution that I will suggest that the windfall should be used to cushion the Ghanaians, but rather what have been accrued as a result of price stabilization should be used. This is the time we need that money.
Okay, great. So again, Kofi Sechope says Dr. Baumia has been arrested by the city. All right. So whatever he's doing, maybe he need a bail. You know, he need a bail at this time. This is the time.
As the houses will say, Dr. Baumia Yamutu.
So I guess my question is, while Dr. Baumia is, currently being held in some type of self-imposed silence over E-Levy, over all the things that he used to really talk about, a vacuum has been created, of course, which we know our Dr. J.K. Kwache from the IEPA, the IEA, has sort of filled in a way, but it seems, the NDC hasn't actually taken advantage of the vacuum. And there's nobody out there leading the charge, presenting to the Ghanaians detailed explanation of why we are where we are.
Alfred,
it was iconic those days to hear Baumia talk about.
Yes, so
this economic.
So NDC not trying to be NDC not trying to behave like Baumia.
What Baumia did by giving lectures on the economic situation actually won him favorable reviews, and of course votes at the end of the 2016 election. We all saw that. So we are saying that perhaps the NDC could also have done exactly the same or even more by educating the people, because people need to understand what's going on.
No,
I mean, they're putting it in their pocket, but they still need somebody to actually summarize it in a way that makes it understandable to the average person.
Okay, to borrow Dr. Baumia's own word, I think if the fundamentals are weak, the people, we will say that, Mas Mahama, my lovely Frabera put it, the people's pocket will expose you.
All right.
So now we don't need to mount podium, we don't need to mount platform to tell the Ghanaians the reality.
Okay.
For as the say goes in our local language, they say when your mother is no more and you say she's asleep, when it's 6 o'clock and you are hungry for food, that is where the reality will expose you. So we will not capitalize on the reality or their weakness as they have done to us. The only thing that we'll do at the appropriate time,
right,
we'll tell Ghanaians why they must vote for the NDC. And for now, when you monitor the social media everywhere, the party NDC have become more attractive than ever.
Right.
My presidential candidate Mahama have become more loved to the people than ever. Most especially when the recent suggestion that teachers living in the government bungalows and stuff should start paying their rent, and we had
that was fake news.
That
was fake news.
Okay, we had Professor Stephen Adai coming out to say that the Wesley girls, the Achimoters, should start paying their fees. So we don't need to go on a platform to say as one of the oldest Ghanaian film to say we told you so. You get it.
Sometimes it's important. It's important that
yeah. So they are. I think the likes of Professor Stephen Adai are doing the job for us.
okay.
The job what we would have been doing, they are doing it for us because what do you call it? Even though it is true that the moment you continue hammering or repeating the same word over and over again, it becomes true.
Okay.
But to quote my presidential candidate, he says that posterity will be his best judge.
Okay,
now,
let me ask.
Posterity have been his judge, and from there within the MPP, they are now coming out loudly, not silently, to tell the world that hey, what Mahama told us in the past is the way to go. And there's no what do you call it? A good message than for your what do you call it? There's no a good message or a good admission than your opponent coming to say that hey, what you told us in the past is the right way to go.
Okay, all right, good. Currently, our debts to GDP has risen quite a bit. Our debt stock currently stands as of
80.2.
As of December 2021, at 351.8%.
Okay.
351.8 billion cedis. 351.8 billion cedis.
So, Alfred, mathematically, if you subtract 120 billion as at the time we left office, you notice that they've done about 250 billion more.
If you take 120 out of 351,
so that's about 230 billion more.
Yeah.
That is as at 2021.
Yes, December 2021. It was
okay. And we can, these people that we know, we cannot say that over the last 3 months, they've even though the door have been shuttered, they've not gone for anything. Internally, I know there's some borrowing going on.
Right.
So I won't be surprised that by where we are by now, it will be around 250.
So in terms of dollars, just for my US people listening, our debt stock is currently at $58.6 billion. It's $58.6 billion as of December 2021. When you look at it from relatively comparison to our GDP, that represents 80.1% of GDP. 80.1% of GDP.
Okay.
Here's my question.
So
what is the hold on? Let me finish my question. What would a new NDC government do about this debt? Because trust me, by 2024, we'll be talking about 89 to 90% of debt to GDP. How are you going to dig us out of this thing? Because, I mean, it is clear that, advanced countries like the United States are hovering around 100 and almost 110% of debt to GDP. But they have a big tax revenue generation capability. We don't. What are you guys going to do about this quantum of debt when you come into power?
Alfred, this is a very difficult situation and a question that we will find ourselves in the future as a party when we come to government.
Right.
And I will through this medium advise my party leaders that even though we are in opposition, we begin to look at thinking of solutions ahead of the problem.
Right.
That is one way for me. I think we should go. We should not sit down until when we come to power before we start looking for solution. And it's going to be a difficult thing when we inherit power in a way. But I think there is no situation that cannot come out of solution. And the solution, we must begin to be thinking out of the box, right, whilst we are in opposition, to figure out the way we could go around this. But I think some of the things that I would suggest we do is to reduce the borrowing when we come, which is one of the way we must go. Also, try to live within our means, not to have a large size government like these people have done.
Right.
And also try to put most of our institutions that we have into proper, we put them on their feet to, instead of them to be making losses, to turn around to be making profits. For instance, like the ECG, the VRA, the Greco, the Ghana Gas. I mean, those, the airports built by John Mahama and all those things, those are things that if we have good heads and of those institutions, we can make some profits instead of making losses. So I think those are some of the way we can go. Like I said, by reducing borrowing, and also to make sure the state institutions we have make profits instead of losses, and also to cut, reduce the size of government and also waste within the system.
Gotcha.
That is corruption. Yeah.
All right. Let's take the opportunity to welcome Dr. Ato Kwame to the show. I think his brother was celebrating his birthday over the week, so we wish Brother Danso, is he Ofori Danso or what is the name? Danso. We wish him a happy birthday on behalf of his brother and on behalf of the Ghana Agenda. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Thank you very much, and apologies for being late. I had to work last night, so
I hear you. I can see it in your voice, in your face, everywhere. Trust me, you're a hardworking man. Now, Dr. To, we've been having we've talked about a lot in your absence here.
Where is Paul, Saul?
Paul has disappeared on us today, so did Afar. Afar has an emergency, etc. So it's just me and Lifetime Legacy doing the forth and back, talking through the issues one step at a time.
Lifetime Legacy is fresh as always. He has a part of the E-Levy.
Of course.
Doctor, you are welcome. What do you call it? My brother Ifa is noted to be running away whenever the altar hits him. And I know he's watching. I know he's watching. Anytime he knows that he'll be unable to defend indefensible, then he's engaged.
Okay. All right, so let me put it to Dr. Ato quickly, some of the things we discussed. Dr. Ato, so we went over some things, proposals that, one of the directors of research at the Institute of Economic Affairs has proffered as things we should do to avoid going to IMF. We're talking about, our country being in a big trouble right now. And we all know that's considering all the news coming from Ghana with regards to if no E-Levy is passed, so and so is going to happen. Even salaries will become problematic to pay. He has suggested a couple of things. That one, we take the E-Levy, split it into two, have 1% applied to, or 1% slapped or put on the telcos, or have telcos take over 1%. The telcos already said they would take 0.25%, but he's saying we should make that 1%, and then have the citizens actually be burdened with this others, the rest, which is the 0.75%. In addition to that, he wants us to pass the tax exemption bill, or reduce the scope and scale of exemptions that we give out to companies that come to invest in our country. He talks about reducing the size of governments by decreasing the number of ministries from 30 to 20. He says we should decrease the number of ministers from 86 to 56, on and on. He says we should slash executive pay by 20%. We should abolish NAPCO, abolish the free SHS, and temporarily freeze the payment of allowance to, matter of fact, freeze the payment of allowance to nurses training colleges and teaching training colleges. Matter of fact, move them onto the loan scheme, as was going to be done by the former president. Impose a freeze on recruitment of people into the public sector. And these are the fiscal policies, sort of the things that government can do that he's proposing. He's saying that these are the same things that IMF will ask us to do anyway. So why don't we do these things ourselves and not go to the IMF? My brother, Lifetime Legacy, says, we do not trust the IMF, well, not the IMF, we do not trust this government to implement any of these things. You ask them to freeze employment of people into the government's payroll, and they will not. They would, when it comes to 2024 elections, party members will be put, or they would, open it back for people to be employed so that they can win election. So the best way to actually tackle this is to go to the IMF. Matter of fact, in his conclusion, Dr. J.K. Kwache himself says that should the crisis continue, should we apply all these measures, or should the government fail to apply these measures, or should the measures be applied but still not successful, then we should go to the IMF, because the IMF will come back with the same recommendations that it's making, and they will make sure that it is implemented. So shouldn't we just go to the IMF to start with? Why worry ourselves and delay the solutions, the necessary solutions that we need to put in place through the IMF? Why should we delay that by toying with a government that we don't trust will keep up their word?
Good morning or good afternoon to your I agree with Lifetime on this. If yes, only if we're going to go by what the size is.
Right.
What is the point in putting all these measures on ourselves?
Right.
And then we have to also endure E-Levy. Just money and put pressure on you. So yeah.
But saying that, it means that if we're not going to do E-Levy, all right, and we're going to go to the IMF, our debt to GDP is going to even go through the roof.
Yes.
We'll be getting more loan, which will be bad.
I'm not saying that at this point we should go to IMF. I'm saying that if we have to do what he's suggesting,
right,
and go through all the IMF conditions like he wants us to do, then why not find an easier approach? Although maybe it will be an easier approach than just the E-Levy, which will bring burden on Ghanaians. So if we're comparing what he's talking about and then going to IMF, then I would suggest that we go to IMF. But I also agree with you that it's going to mess up our finances. It's going to also
increase our debts.
Yeah, our debts. But I do believe, I have always said that bigger government, I am so against government having three ministers for one position. It's like it was needless. So I agree with Lifetime in the sense that we have to cut down the government. But you cannot tell me that you're suffering. And we have to also think about changing the probably laws in Parliament in regards to how much money we pay to the MPs when they're out of office.
Right. There are several. What do we call it? Lifetime, you're on mute.
The S gratia.
Yes.
Gratia. Correct.
So, I do believe in, and if Paul were to be here, he would talk about Akufo-Addo cutting his
travel
expenditure. I mean, all those would help. And I think we are even in a more serious situation because of the dollar rate.
Right.
I know everywhere in the world. I was checking with a friend in Russia that right now, fuel in Russia also increased. But in our situation, it's bad because we have to exchange the money into dollars to buy. So if the exchange rate the fundamentals are weak right now. So we've
Mm-hmm.
been exposed by
the fundamental is strong.
So it even worsens the situation for us. I don't think that the E-Levy would actually change or would make it change with any better, because right now we're having a global crisis.
Right.
I agree with Lifetime that government would have to come up with prudent ways in the system. I'm against cutting free SHS. I'm a number one supporter of free SHS. I think in the long run, even any country who I believe that government was able to get loans because of free SHS. Because if you're telling people that you are educating your people for the future, any person trying to give you money know that you're investing in the future would be it's a good argument to make to even get money to
but have we seen the increase in numbers since free SHS? Has the impact?
Oh, yes, that is not in dispute. Increase in enrollment.
Enrollment, yes.
Yes, that is not in dispute. I don't know if Lifetime would say anything about that. There's been an increase in enrollment, increase in the pass rate.
Yeah, the pass rate is because of the pass papers. We buy all the the curriculum.
Doctor,
in the curriculum, and we still don't have textbooks for them.
Doctor,
I don't know if you're aware.
Doctor, let me say that
this is not about this is not a Ghanaian organized exam. We're talking about the West African Examination Council. Right. Nigeria, we have countries are neighbors with us, and if we are doing better than them, you cannot tell me it's just past questions.
But Dr. Tu, the reality is that for me, I believe in free SHS. I am not against it, but like to post the very question the finance minister posed to Paula Domotry on one of his shows. Will you ask him, the finance minister's children, to attend free SHS whilst he has the ability to pay?
Okay,
right.
So the answer is the answer
is here saying, Kofi Sichope again is saying it will be a good idea, it'll be a good time to restructure the free SHS and categorize it into category A, where parents who can afford 100%, category B will be where parents who can afford about 50%, and category C for parents who genuinely can't afford it.
So Alfred, that is a good idea, but in Ghana we don't have that means to kind of
honesty.
We do.
That is it. You know what? Even with the Cocoa scheme, Cocoa scholarship scheme, you know those who are benefiting? Rich people.
The politicians' children.
Yes.
You know, Dr. To, I think if we decided that we want to go by that way, it's easy to be done. Let me demonstrate how it can be done. I have got a chance to have been in a classroom for at least 7 years as a teacher. You see, all the heads of these institutions know the what do you call it, the financial status of the children.
No. I disagree with that. You cannot use speculation.
But even can we trust the heads? So that's the thing.
Exactly. So we don't have a system where, like in America, where you file taxes and then even the tax that you're using your taxes to determine whether you're eligible.
Right.
You get grants and loans.
We're not filing our taxes, even though we have a tax. We are required to file annual tax returns. People don't file them, and nobody does anything. There's no repercussion. There's no enforcement, so you don't file your taxes, and nobody cares.
And also, more of the community day schools, like the visionary but John Mahama have proposed. Most of the these community day schools would have also eased the pressure on parents. You get it? That would have that would have also reduced the amount that would have got into the expenses as far as the education is concerned.
That is true. Doing so, but the only problem is that some of these schools were built in remote areas.
But that's how you expand. That's how you expand the country, right? That's how you expand. It takes for one road to pass through a remote area, and before you know it, communities.
No, but if you're building one school in a remote area, I mean, I don't know what if your really main aim is expanding, why don't you build boarding schools in those areas?
So to give you a practical situation, look at Apam Secondary School. Okay, where Apam Secondary School is situated, and look at where the township of Apam is situated. You get it. So from Apam Junction, there's a vast land before you get to Apam Secondary School, and after that Apam Secondary School, there's a vast land before you get to the community itself. So that's by the time the community expands and gets to where the schools is. It's. I mean, that also open up development.
It's not all the schools that are in the remote areas. Yeah. Right? There's a few we are talking about here.
Look at the Kwabenya, the one at Kwabenya, for instance.
Yeah, most of them are in strategic locations where people.
You get it. The one at Sakumono, the one at what do you call it, Ekunfi. They are all. You don't need so much to. And even if let's even go back the other way around, if that will even. It's let's say they are even remote, and the government I know every year provide buses to all the institutions, the secondary schools. What are the use of those buses?
Lifetime.
Okay. You get it.
All right.
So what I'm trying to say is that I agree with some of the measures that he talked about we should cut.
Right.
I disagree with E-Levy being one of them. I agree. Right now, we have to think about the allowances that we give to students. We have to think about some of
the teachers. Yeah.
Yes, but I strongly believe that education should be based on that people should be able to get that education. It's a right. I feel like it's a way where you can all enjoy the national cake.
Right.
Because that's the only way that, say, my nephew or say my niece or anybody like that can be able to go to school. Free SHS, if you bring that up, is going to be a long topic because I strongly believe in that.
Right.
One, it has increased enrollment. The passing rate has increased. I don't know what example you want to give or what reason you want to give for the passing rate, but this is documented that it has helped. But the main point over here today is that government will have to find a way to reduce that's going to waste.
The passing rate is actually on a decline, though. If you care to know,
you have to bring the figures. I mean,
I think we hit about 68% of the passing rate was about 68% before. In 2020, in 2019.
I'll find information for you. I'm telling you.
Dr. So the reality is that when Professor Nana Gianopokwa was the Minister of Education, continuously our pass grade was better for the 4 years.
We are saying that under the free SHS, it went up significantly. Then lately, the last one we reported, which was 2020, actually came down. We are yet to get the
I'll give you the figures in a second when you come back to me. But I'm saying that in the past couple of years, pass rate has gone up, enrollment has gone up. But that's beside the point. I'm just saying we're not talking about we're talking about PSHS today. But I'm saying that I agree with what the professor talked about. I agree that one, government should cut down the wastage in the system. And two, I agree that we have to think about because when you talk about the loans to be given to those nurses training and then training college, we are trying to treat them as tertiary, but they're not treated as tertiary. That's the difficulty I have with it. If you're saying
they are giving now. Most of the colleges of education are awarded degree.
I know, but that's not the only thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about treatment in school. You cannot tell me a teacher should go to school and feel like a secondary school child, where they have to go and read. But if you compare that to the universities, they have the freedom. But in some of these schools, they are treated like.
I mean, in other words, the training colleges still use the boarding house system.
Yes, so if
a little more strict.
If you're trying to make them tertiary, why not make them for full tertiary?
So you can see that wouldn't
involve much of government expenditure to do, right? This will just be a culture change, a culture shift, where you can even open it up for day schooling, where they can just come to school and go back home.
No, but you can tell me to take loans and then go to school and then give me a class to read. It would not make any sense. If you
so you see, Dr. Ato, that was what our time, the NDC government time, that was what we intended to do. You realize that we started by converting the polytechnics into university. You get it?
Yes.
And then the idea was to change the colleges of education into degree awarding school institutions, and then the students will be made to take a student loan, and all those things will be weeding off gradually. That was what we intend to do, but the current regime at that time did not understand us.
What I'm saying is that I agree that we have to migrate them from this allowance scheme to a loan scheme. I have the problem. They're telling me that we have to make them take loans, but because they're tertiary. But then when they go to school, they're treated like the secondary school kids, where they have to.
Well, we haven't seen that materialize, so we can continue. We can't say that they will continue to be treated like they were, where they would be reading and all that. Because if they were taking loan and they didn't have to depend on the school again for feeding and all those things, then the school now have some resources to actually have hired labor, do those things that they were.
Exactly. So I'm saying that we also have to think about all these things when we're thinking about changing the system. It's not just about
absolutely
giving them loans. I agree that we have to restructure that system. People are always focused on let's give them loans without thinking about some of these things that they go through.
I think I don't think that rises up to the importance of the financial burden the feeding them imposes on, so that when we are having the debate, that part doesn't come in as much. But I don't think that implementing the loan scheme will come with the same old structure. So let's now, the bigger issue is the financial burden they impose on the
people. Of course, it will come with the old structure. You and I know. Now,
I think in the vision of NDC, we were converting them into a tertiary.
Yeah, but
all those old cultures would have been done off.
Yeah, but I thought even if that is the case, right? Even if they went weeding again and under the same old conditions, our budget is free of that burden where your
budget is free of burden, but it should not infringe on someone's right to do anything.
Here's the thing. Our concern is to kind of read the economy of the current trajectory of getting loans and pumping it into this, programs that we want to perhaps restructure in a way.
I agree with you, but you only focus is just cutting the wastage or trying to make money. You're forgetting about even the laws and everything, like people's rights.
The way the students are treated at school, that's gonna be a matter between PTA students and
no.
Let's figure that one out.
Yes,
we don't need government dictating that part. Government shouldn't dictate what time you come to school and what to do when you're in school.
So what the take-home point is that we should some. It's not just about this money. It's a whole system that we have to review the system.
But Dr. Ato, we would have, if we were to be in government by now, what we are talking or you are mentioning, the solutions we are preferring would have been dealt with. You get it? Well, like we did with the Polytechnic.
You stayed in government for 8 years, and these issues.
No, but we started implementing some of these policies in our second term.
He's saying that he also worked in high school in Ghana, and yes, the teachers can determine which parents can afford. So he's supporting what lifetime legacy.
Yeah, I what do you call it?
A great way.
What do you call it? Like I said,
I don't think we trust the teachers to do so.
No,
maybe the same people taking bribe and
no. What do you call it? I was privileged to have been not in the public school, but in the government school. You get it? And I can tell you on authority, about 75% of the kids that come into government school, when you go back and check their background, Mostly people whose parents cannot afford the private schools. You get it?
So they cannot.
No. The argument is that you cannot use this the teacher's perception of someone's financial just as a gauge. It would not make any sense.
But what I'm saying is that it can be done. To know the financial strength of it can be done.
Yeah, there should be objective ways to do so, including enforcing tax returns.
Yeah, it can be done. And you can have a situation where some would be in the public school. Okay,
maybe it can be
but
done.
Their parents can afford
afford
taking them to these prestige schools.
Okay,
it can be done.
Kofi again says the major issue with our educational system is not financially based, but the curriculum and the structure. I disagree. Well, the issue could be curriculum and it could be the structure and everything, but it is kind of imposing some economic hardship on all of us, where we are paying free SHS, we are paying teachers' allowances, and all these statutory payments, makes it so that we have to always go to the market and borrow. And now we are about 80% of our GDP in debt, which means, our interest payments and just our salaries alone takes 100% of our revenue. That is bad.
So question. So you want us to go up to the chiefs to try to solve the situation? We have issues. We take it back to the chiefs to advocate for us. Is because you feel like maybe we're paying lawyers. My question is, you're only thinking about just the end justify the means. If we're able to do this, whatever happens, that doesn't care. So if you're saying that I'm just trying to make an argument over here.
We are making a peculiar case of what we pay to teacher trainees and nurses.
Yes,
right
I'm trying to draw an analogy, because if you're saying that we shouldn't care about curriculum and structure and all that kind of stuff. So then if you're saying that, then we should.
No, I didn't say we shouldn't care about curriculum. I said he's saying that the problem is the curriculum and the structure. And I'm saying it may be that the curriculum and the structure are problematic.
Yeah.
But the one we are concerned about right now is
money.
We're trying to go to IMF. Right now, as we speak, the president and the ministers and the MPs are all huddling at Peduase, trying to figure out a solution for us. Whether we go for E-Levy or we continue to pursue the E-Levy, or we go to the IMF. So, in the context of the menu of solutions proffered by this doctor, we are saying, what can we do to... So when we bring in the structure of their curriculum, we are deviating from the argument. We want to save money right now.
Yes.
Now, the structure can be a problem that can be dealt with in different other ways, right? And it wouldn't cost us a whole economy, because right now we are in trouble.
In trying to do that, you cannot be infringing on other people's rights. It has to be done in a way that is prudent. It cannot be just.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
That's my point. Yeah,
of course. Let's structure let's restructure all those institutions so that when we stop, financially supporting them in the ways we currently do, that it would not be. It will still make sense.
But Alfred, there is that also to add something to what Dr. Tu said. He said when those institutions like the colleges of education are turned into tertiary, where they are made to take loan, the facility of in terms of the housing the government can also make some revenue out there to pay some of the expenses that normally would have been bought by the government. For instance, now you have to pay facility user fee. You get it? Which for now,
we know that
it's a whole thing that needs
the fact that they are all not being supported by the government.
My only
some resources for the schools to actually hire. Hands.
My only point is that we make it seem like people talk about the tertiary, so you should just give them loans. It's not just that. That's what my point. It's a whole structure needs to change. It's not just one aspect of this finances will change everything. No.
Well, I mean, at the minimum, right now, for all intensive purposes, you can take the student loan, you can take the payment.
No, but see, Alfred, that's why it's I mean, you are only focus on right now, but you cannot just because of balancing the books just because of that infringe on other people's rights or just do it radically. That's my point.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that until we figure out how they don't weed, how they do this and that, other things, how they feel, until we figure that out, we should continue to be paying them? At the time, Mahama actually stopped paying tuition. What do you call it? At the time, the NDC stopped paying the teacher trainees and the nurses' allowances. They didn't mess with the education. They still had the same quality education.
And we're even having higher enrollment.
No, so what I'm saying is that you just told me who has gone through the system. Some of them feel like, although you talk about being tertiary, they don't feel like they are tertiary just because.
Okay. Oh yeah, I mean we got it.
Let me assure you that. The NDC that know how to do it best. Okay.
That's the purpose. The purpose. That's why they give them allowances.
Yeah. So, Dr.
No, it wasn't for the allowance. That was not why they give them allowances. The allowances is given to them because we feel like these are teachers. They are going to sacrifice for the development of the country by teaching the next generation, and therefore we provide them just because of the essential roles they will play in society. That's why we give them those allowances.
High demand for them.
So they don't play essential roles role going forward.
They are going to, but we are saying that it's so. For me, I'm all for increasing teacher pay. Remunerate the teachers well, so that they can perform well. But if you try to give them allowance today, so that you can pay them poorly when they graduate, that's a problem.
But my point is that you're not taking the money away from them just because it's tertiary. Because if it's tertiary, there are other things that come with tertiary. That's my argument.
Dr. To. So what, Dr. To? Dr. To, let me come.
Is just
so the situation is
level of education.
The situation is when NDC was converting the polytechnic into the university, there were some that were having some we're not meeting all the criteria.
Yes.
We make sure we elevated the criteria that the standard.
Exactly my point. Exactly.
So NDC don't know how to do some of these things best. We wouldn't have implemented the policy just like that. Okay, we would have taken into account
NDC.
Now. And I am on this platform assuring you that when all things being equal and we come back to government, we are going to do it like the way you wanted it to be done. That one I can assure you.
Thank you very much. Exactly.
And you know deep within your heart that when it comes to doing it right, NDC have the tendency of doing it right.
Okay, so Dr. To, the other thing we talked about before you came on, and perhaps might want to take your opinion on that, is I think as of December of 2021, our debt stock has risen to about 351 billion cedis. If you convert that into dollars, that is about $58 billion. And relatively, that is 80%, 80.1% of GDP. So my question then is, how are we going to get out of this? We have to somehow. Are we looking from HIPIC again?
We have to somehow, but I think the truth being, the untold truth is that the government will say that, okay, so they took over and paid some debt that Mahama had incurred. And what they did was to increase the amount of time that we're supposed to pay.
Right.
But every government comes to power, they're able to pay debt, and they also have the agenda. So although it's very political, this is politics. People come to financial ministers. They do say that we are in financially stable. But the president has an agenda. So you don't want the situation where they borrow money and they're unable to execute their agenda. So what I think happened was that the finance minister borrowed money to pay debts and also borrowed money to execute the government's agenda. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely.
No government will come into power and then come and pay someone's debt and not think about his or her agenda. But then we have so much borrowed, so much that it's ridiculous. Now we can find ways to pay. That's why we're discussing some of these things to make sure that how do we get the revenue to pay.
At the same time, we are talking about we want to build 80 hospitals. Agenda 80. 80
I mean, I think, like I said, if they're even able to build half of it, I'll be happy. But it's becoming impossible because we don't have.
Dead in the water.
What I think would help, although people are not in favor of the E-Levy because it would bring hardship, especially this time where we have petroleum prices going up and it affects everything. Really, really difficult situation. I don't know what the government intends how it intends to pay. But the good thing is that these loans are not to be paid in the next 5 years. That means my children's children are planning to come and pay these loans in the distant future. So it gives us some breathing space to maybe find other ways to pay. Because I know the Mahama loans were like, we supposed to pay in 5 years. They were short-term loans, but unlike
but each day a loan is coming due. So
yes, but I'm saying the only breathing space we have over now is time, because these loans that the financial minister got, they're supposed to be paid in the next 30 years. Although it will not be his bed, it will be somebody else's bed. It's still our money.
Right.
I don't think right now as Ghanaians we have a better solution of how to pay, unless we get some grants from other people to pay our money. I don't know how, because if we are not making money from, say, E-Levy, or we are only taxing income taxes or over 12.5%, I don't know how ways we can pay unless we find ways to widen the tax net, which in Ghana, Baumia talks about utilizing the economy, but I don't think it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. So we're in a difficult situation. We are in a very, very difficult situation. But then also the COVID and all this Russian war did not help. It's in the tensions.
Okay, great. Now, with the current petroleum prices and the city situation we currently find ourselves in, with the city depreciating about 14% year to date, just in this year alone, what is a Ghanaian to do? Should people start riding bicycles to work? I mean, we know that during COVID, even in the United States, some of us continue to work from home till today. And Ghana's, companies reinvented themselves, reimagined how, they deliver services, employees are engaged, and etc. People work from home briefly, and should that be increased? What do you think, or what are your thoughts on how people should manage themselves around these difficult issues and difficult times that we are currently living in?
I mean, if we were in America, I would probably agree with you that we can, technology-wise, we can work from home.
Yeah.
But this is Ghana.
This is Ghana, yeah.
That system where people work.
Even the data you would need to work from home alone,
yes,
can kill. Yeah.
I mean, we're in a bad situation because right now, even the COVID starts increasing in Russia. It increased in Russia just before the war. We have in China, we have deaths in China, and then we have increase in Germany. It's I don't think we have a solution to these issues. Pray to God and then find. I don't know. Ask for a miracle, because I don't know how government doesn't have money to support people. We have so much taxes on petrol that's revenue for government.
Right.
So like you cut some of these things, then it affects the government revenue to be able to do business. But I don't think we have a clear solution how to run this. We are in very difficult situations. Right. And I would also say that the hardship is not just in Ghana. It's more so because we have the dollar rate compounding the issues in Ghana. Everything increases in Ghana, unlike over here in America where we have increase in fuel prices. It has affected. I mean, there's an increase in the price of produce in the US, but it's negligible. Although it can be felt, but you cannot just compare that to Ghana. I don't think right now, as a country, Ghana, we have solutions to how people can cope. I don't know if Lifetime has, but I don't have any solution of how, because we don't live in a technologically advanced country where people can support.
I mean, we talked about the Ayalolos releasing some of that on the streets to kind of, at least ease the pressure. And
how many do we have to release this? They don't have. It's not practical.
I mean, there are so many videos that we've seen of these things getting rot in the bushes, and government come
before NDC, before NDC left power. Personally, I have witnessed it. I've seen it. We were having about 120 buses of the Ayalolo. Okay, and it was one of the reasons why the Obechebe roundabout was turned into interchange. Because when you are coming from that stretch of the road, you realize that there's so much congestion, and for that matter, the purpose wouldn't have been.
The congestion is still there. If you go into, let's say, Medina from, you said Obechebe, I'll leave that alone.
So that was one of the reasons why. So they started the piloting of Ayalolo.
We don't have a maintenance structure in Ghana. We have good ideas.
But with this particular one, if the current regime, okay, I have used it before. I've used Ayalolo before. I'm not
saying it's a bad idea, but I'm saying we don't have a good maintenance structure. We don't have, say, if these Ayalolos break down, a place where these Ayalolos are being sent to fix them. Just like
So that like your question you have just raised right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are the Metro Mass buses being serviced? Where are the STCs being serviced? Where are the OA and the the other buses being serviced? So you see, that would have even created another avenue of employment.
If I tell you the amount of money we are using to service these, the expenditure we bring to government about how much we are even spending to fix these, you see that it's very needless that we are even having these costs.
But that would have also saved the economy than the situation we find ourselves.
No, I agree with you that what I'm saying is that we don't have a good maintenance structure in Ghana where some of these are. It's sad that you see all these Metro Mass buses on the streets or on the sides of the road. We don't have a proper maintenance structure, so much that the amount of money that we use in fixing some of these things and the corruption that comes with it. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Our system is so corrupt that although we have good ideas, we are unable to implement them to the T, just because the system is not. See, over here in the US, all these buses and trains, there's a structure to maintain them. As of right now, if you want to go bring the Ayalolo, the amount of money that people they will put roadworthy, it would even shock you. It would.
Right.
I don't know if you try. You get what I'm trying to say. We don't have any proper maintenance.
For me, I don't understand why the government actually gets involved in these things. This should be privatized. If a private person owns Ayalolos, then you see the maintenance,
Yes. It was sad to see the ambulances being sent to local. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. There was no planning towards how we're going to maintain these ambulances. It's just buy ambulances, distribute them,
take pictures,
forget about it. They take care of itself.
So, later, I'm not criticizing the NDC for doing that, but I'm saying that in general, we have good ideas that we want to implement, but we don't have the maintenance structure to maintain some of these things.
Dr. Tu, you could have put it proper.
Do everything for political reasons, right?
Dr. Tu, you could have put it proper that NDC have good ideas and you expect them to come back and continue.
All right.
We had the OSA services. That OSA, I don't know if you heard about OSA.
OSA, I remember. You are old man, oh, hey.
OSA and those days, OSA and King of Kings.
Yes, even with the STC, Nana Kumia has tried to revamp the STC. STC has been.
No, a point of correction. Nana Kumia never revived STC. The STC was revived and retooled prior to the 2016. He only came to inherit the glory. There was this man called
Dr.
Nuama from Ashanti region. He was the CEO of STC when during the Mahama time. He ruled to the STC that was about to collapse. He imported all the new buses.
So by lifetime, you would agree that there's been an increase in patronage, there's been an increase in the stations.
I'm only correcting the impression that the revitalization of the STC was done under this administration. I'm only correcting that the actual work was done by Dr. Nuama when he was in the CEO over there. In fact, I can even give you pictures when the. No,
I'm just unfortunately giving praise to the NPP. I'm just making an observation that I have seen that an increase in the open definition in so many places since he's taken over. So if you were saying that Dr. Nuama did, I agree with you. But I'm saying that the point is that we have to have a maintenance structure in Ghana so that these buses, or we can just privatize them, because the mere notion that this is for government makes people corrupt.
Right. I mean, government has done its share of building it, listed on the stock exchange, so we can all buy shares into it.
Yes.
And we will demand accountability,
Yes.
You don't need government to continue to hold on to these assets and use it as a political reward for their contributors, It's just...
Even with this drone delivery, ask me, was there a maintenance structure? If the drone is not working, what is the plan? We only do, like I'm saying, we have good ideas. We all have good ideas, but then we don't have any plan B. Maintenance structure. So I agree that a lot would help, but I'm saying the money involved to make them roadworthy.
Even the train systems that has been discussed, if all those things were done, we wouldn't be where we are today talking about fuel prices hiking, everything. Of course, when fuel prices go up in Ghana, we know what happens, right? Everything is kind of depends on that. KK balls get either shrinked or prices increase. Everything goes up in Ghana as fuel prices get increased. Anyway,
for the first time, I've seen that shrinking, just like the balls of KK in Ghana. I've seen that in America they will not put the price, but I've seen that there's a decrease in the amount. So if you're buying fried chicken and then it used to be $10. You're getting say $6. It's shrinking in America, so I don't know.
Yeah, you would even see the breakfast. What do you call it? Cereal boxes decrease, kind of shrinking.
Yeah.
So
adopted methodology. They're just shrinking stuff.
Shrink it as we go, so I keep the same price. Yep. Anyway, guys, we've done 2.5 hours.
That is still better than our home.
Of course.
Yeah, now a bowl of quinquin now, I'm told, is around 2 or 3.
It's a luxury.
Yeah. And I watch a journalist in multimedia saying that now when you even have 3 CD or 5 CD, you cannot even afford beans.
Just go and get Tolonka of Gary or go back to the old school.
But now the Tolonka is even more than 10 Ghana CDs.
Right. Well, we all need to start cooking at home. I mean, if you cook one Olonka of Banku, you can eat it for days, right? Anyway,
in Chicago, we buy kinky too, and we've seen my wife was shrink. They have the term for that, shrink something. I've forgotten. My point is that a lifetime would make it sound like, it's only Ghana that it's global.
Right.
Because
I do see a big issue coming down the pipeline, though, in terms of another financial system collapse.
You don't see it?
It's coming. I see it's coming. If you look at the housing prices now, it's just crazy out of control. The Fed is about to raise their rate, or they've already increased the rate or so, I'm hearing. And so there's something is in the pipe, works, especially with this Russia thing. If it continues to go on for a while, and if this thing escalates, we're gonna have a lot of trouble on our hands, and it's not gonna be just limited to Ghana; it'll be everywhere.
I also praise that. I pray that the involvement of China, as it's been alleged, does not tend to be true. Because that also have a dire consequence.
That's the doomsday scenario right there.
Is that?
Yeah.
I think China is playing it safe so far, though. They kind of try to massage both sides.
I pray that they don't get themselves involved. Other than that, if they get themselves involved and sanctions are to imposed on them, it's going to have a huge impact on the world economy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm happy that you are admitting that it's a lifetime. In your case, you are admitting that this is not about just Ghana.
No. About Ghana, right? How is Ghana reacting to it?
You see, Ghana's situation, in as much as I know very well the world economy will have impact on our economy, there are certain things that we can do as whole in our own home, which can bring some relief. Practically, I did mention a few before you joined the show. I am saying that, one, we have thermal oil refinery. Let's begin to put that machine to use. Okay, at least it can save 40% of our imports. It's
sad that the talk. I mean, like it's sad.
You get it.
You don't
it can save us 40% of our import. Mahama project, Commander Sugar Factory. At least that can save us about 40% or 50% of our sugar
import. Factory without building the farms for it. Can you imagine?
Not sugar cane.
He said
you build a factory without the sugar cane for it.
Yeah, you see,
also
I don't want us to go the arena
about this. We've talked about this like 5 months ago.
I know.
Yeah, I agree.
The sugar cane is still not planted.
Yeah, I know.
That can never be blamed. You see, nobody should blame Mahama for not putting the resources.
We should blame Mahama.
No. Let me explain why.
Let
me explain why. Let me explain why.
He commissioned the factory.
Let me explain why. When that project was being constructed, I was also working as a mechanical technician engineer in Elmina Fish Processing Plant.
Okay.
The project was going on. The two projects were going on at the same time. Now, let me tell you what the whole thing is. That project was 6 months faster commissioned than it's supposed to be.
No,
the completion date.
Did we have sugar cane?
I'm coming to that. The old land for the sugar cane have been taken by Indum. Are you aware? That is where Indum have built his university. I don't know if you are aware.
Okay, so then
what? So the government of Mahama at that time secured $7 million apart from the $11 million, $7 million for purposely for sugarcane. And I can tell you on authority, they started doing a community town gathering, Deba, okay, to tell this thing. And the project, the sugarcane plantation was supposed to start from Elimina all the way to Abuazi in Takrady.
When is it going to start?
It was supposed to start that same year.
Like I said, we have the ideas.
You get it. It was supposed to. No, but you know, in engineering, there is no way one who says that you need to plant the sugarcane before you put out the factory.
But hear yourself, right? Hear yourself. You started a factory, you know, from what Nkrumah left it, right? Renovated it.
It wasn't renovated. It was completely build up a new thing put up.
Okay, so let's even that better. You started a factory from the foundation all the way, right?
It was built, completely built. No, it
wasn't that. It was completely built. Unless you have no knowledge of where the project is situated.
I thought let's give that's credit. Okay,
I was telling you between 2015, okay, all the way to May 2017. I was working in Elimina Fish Processing Plant.
All right, my brother, hear me out.
You get it. And Elimina Fish Processing and where Commander Fish Factory is just a stone throw.
We get that part. We are saying that you build a whole factory from foundation all the way to the roof. Put all the equipment in there, right? Commission it.
Alfred.
But you don't have the raw materials.
Alfred.
You really plant one sugar cane.
Alfred, I am saying that
and you trying to say
the project was estimated to have lasted for, I think, 2 years, 2.5 years, and the project was 6 months faster than it was.
Was the government surprised by the 6 months early completion? Were they surprised?
The project was 6 months earlier completed.
So were they surprised by that?
You said, am I surprised?
Did nobody tell you guys that the project was going to finish 6 months earlier?
We were going by what the consultant was saying.
So the consultant didn't give you no update.
I knew Dr. Spiogabra started recruiting people towards the sugarcane plantation. I know that one on authority.
My brother. So how long was the project going to be idle until the sugarcanes come on board?
The project was not supposed to be idle. What they were doing, let me tell you, the project was not supposed to be idle. What they were intended to do was that the $7 million that was given to us by Indian Exim towards the plantation of the sugarcane, they were trying to use part of the money to start the purchases of the sugarcane from Elmina all the way to Abuazi. You know, when you go to Abuazi,
so why didn't you purchase any?
They have a large sugarcane plantation over there. That
why didn't you purchase any?
Alcohol.
You didn't purchase any.
Huh?
You did not purchase a single sugarcane.
Yeah, we didn't purchase because we're out of power. Look at when the project was commissioned. The project was commissioned in November. And the election was held in December. And we lost
so between November and December, you left the project that you commissioned so you can do what? Why did you come? I mean, hear yourself out, right?
Alfred, I know what I'm talking about.
You commissioned a project. You were going to buy sugar.
November 2016.
You commissioned a project in November.
November 2016.
You were actually out of government in January. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So you commissioned a project in November, and you did not buy any sugar for the whole month of November. You didn't buy a single sugar for the whole month of December.
What sugarcane was used to do the test transmission? What sugarcane was used for the test transmission?
So you bought the one for the test transmission. And
I am telling you that part of that money that was supposed to.
So you only bought the sugar enough for the test transmission.
I am telling you that part of that money that was used for the last case farming. They were telling there were people who are already into sugarcane plantation all the way to Abuazi in Takoradi.
Except that on this one, you know,
you get it. And we got the ball on this sugarcane for the text transmission from that particular area. You get it. So my in the large scale. You build a plant, and you bought enough sugar just for the test of the plant, and that's it. Alfred, listen to yourself. Mm-hmm. I am telling you that the project was 6 months faster than the estimated date. Okay? The project was commissioned in November. Mm-hmm. We went out of power in December. We were voted out of power in December. We left our government in January 7th.
Yes.
You don't expect sugarcane to be planted within that 1 month.
But what I'm saying is that you would have had a plan of planting sugarcane before.
That is why I am telling you that we know the plan of the plantation.
Is it Muhammad who's going to buy the sugarcane? Doesn't he have the people? So has he hired? So okay, let's say has he hired a managing director of the company, the workers in the company? Have you guys hired those people? Have you hired personnel to work in the company?
Do you want answers to that question?
Yes.
This is what Dr. Spiogabra did. After,
I think this is a yes or no question. Have you?
Prior to the commission of the project, they started meeting, organizing.
Answer the question simply. Have you hired a
question? I'm providing you answer. I am providing you answer.
People, labor. Have you hired all the people to run the factory?
Alfred, when Elimina
yes or no?
Let me tell you, I'm answering your question. When Elimina let me tell you, I was one of the engineers.
I don't listen. To forget about yourself.
I am telling you what has been done. I am telling you what has been done.
You were in a fish factory. Yeah.
I am telling you what has been done. People, personnel who would have operated everything have been recruited.
And they
have
were
been recruited. The people, the personnel to work, like myself, on the alumina fish processing. I was recruited.
We are talking about sugar factory.
I am telling you, the same procedure was done to that project also. Okay, Dr. Spio Gabra started meeting the communities, the sugarcane plantation, all the way to Abuazi. Okay, you know, when you go.
When did he start? When did he start that meeting? When was that meeting started? November.
That was in the mid 2016, and that is how they were able to get sugarcane, the one that was used for the text transmission. That's how they were able to get it. So from Takrade in Trabai all the way to what do you call it? There are villages over there, all the way to Abuazi.
Okay.
That stretch of land.
There's a question for
the person who was
Dr. here.
Fortunately, the person who was leading that project is a friend. So anytime he's around, I think some of these rounds with him. And they were talking to the sugarcane farmers who use their sugarcane for alcohol. Okay. That now there is a plan.
You know, you're not gonna get the alcohol people to give up their sugarcane, right? Anyway, Ebenezer Kuma says, tell us to study the difference in factory production. There are differences in what every factory is made up with. Okay, I don't get that question. I mean, what are you trying to say?
But there's correction. This correction. So when last time is saying that Mahama built the factory that is correct. You want to take Nkrumah's ideology from him?
No. Let me tell you.
Maybe I hear with the
we as an NDC are believers of ideas of Nkrumah.
Yeah, but he didn't start it. Mahama did not start it.
Unless you don't know.
Oh,
it was not a renovation. No.
So it was
the project was not renovation.
No, please. Are you saying Mahama started everything from scratch? That is.
I am saying the project was not renovation. No.
What was it? Okay, what was it?
It was complete setup.
No.
So what happened to the
premises?
Alfred, please just Google. This is.
What happened to the one Kwame Nkrumah did?
Is that?
What happened to the Kwame Nkrumah version?
But we all know what happened to it. What happened? The project gone. This thing. What do you call it? Destroyed, and the land Hindu have taken the land to build the university on it. So we all know what happened in that area.
Didn't even build foundation, and then Mahama came and started everything from scratch.
I haven't said so.
You saying that
when Nkrumah project, the factory was working. Okay, the factory was working until it collapsed. That is how the people cultivated the sugarcane in that area, all the way from UCC, all the way to that area. They started taking the land into real estate and all those things, to the extent that, like I was telling you, authority. I know you live in Chicago. You are saying ask Dr. Indum if he hasn't built university on part of that land.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you're saying
did you build investing on the whole land?
But I said part of that. I use the word part of that land. I use the word parts.
Alfred, that's what I was saying earlier. We have good ideas. It's all for show. It's all for politics.
Okay, Dr. Cho.
The timing of the
Dr. Cho, let me even admit. Let me even admit that NDC did not do the sugar plantation. Let me even admit. We have money sitting down. We have secure loan sitting down purposely for sugarcane. The person who put up the factory could not plant the sugarcane. Taking the money in meeting the farmers to put out to do the plantation, should that also take you 6 years?
But the person said you had the money there before you left. Why didn't you take it?
Huh?
You had the money before you left.
Then we want the factory to be in readiness because we were told
the idea that you build a factory and commission it without
it will last for only 6 months. So how about money? Okay, assuming the government let's even admit that. Let me even admit that we were not prudent or we were so negligent that we didn't put up the sugarcane before building up the factory. like you wanted us to do. We should roof the building before we come and start with the foundation. Let me even go by that.
No, that's not what you're saying. That's not what
that is what you are preferring. Let me even go by that theory. So we were unable to do it. What we were told is that the sugarcane plantain to plant and harvest, it will take 6 months. It has taken you 6 years. Assuming you were able to do that in your first year of administration, by now that factory would have been producing sugar. That would have taken a significant. That would have saved a significant amount.
I mean, we know that if the current government has continued and did the sugar the plantation, which the president promised when the debate started and Mahama started talking about the commander, Mahama did the tours. The president came out to say, you remember we actually had a show on that. The president came, was very emphatic on this, that he's about to start the farms and da. It's been almost 8 or so several months.
I agree with you. Like, that's what I'm saying. We have all the ideas in the country, but it's all for show. It's all for politics. We are not.
We didn't do it for politics. Let me tell you.
You guys don't even start because you guys were negligent.
No, we were not negligent. We were not negligent. We were not negligent. Assuming we had planted the sugar cane. Okay.
We are not assuming you have not.
No, I'm telling you. Okay, so if we are to plant the sugarcane 6 months faster before the project, what are we going to do with those sugarcane?
We did not. You are asking your own question and answering.
No, I'm asking you a question.
Nobody says nobody. You are asking your own question and answering. Nobody says plant.
No, I am giving you the chance.
You ask your question. Let's also say ours. Nobody's saying go and plant sugar. I mean, you'd be stupid to do that, wouldn't you? How would you plant sugarcane before you start the project? Nobody's asking you for that. So we are saying that, here's what we are saying. We are saying that you knew when the project will be done. Even if it was done 6 months ahead of time, you still knew that. You were constantly briefed on what is happening with this project, when it will be commissioned. The president have to fit it in his schedule because he has to come and commission it. It doesn't just take a day or two for him to just know that, project is finished, so he's going to come. He knew that way ahead of time. Even if you did not do the planting 6 months before the commission, even if you did the planting just 2 months before the commission, right? When you are out of office, we still have some sugar canes over there as evidence of your efforts.
Alfred,
but you have not.
You still don't want to admit that. What I am saying that we already have farmers planting sugarcane all the way from UCC.
My brother,
all the way.
You know that's not true.
All the way. Are you saying that there's no sugarcane plantation in Abuaze?
We haven't. Then why are we not making sugar?
No.
We're not making
unless if you tell me you don't know that stretch of the road properly, I will admit. But there are sugarcane farming going on right from UCC all the way to Abuaze.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I schooled in Takari, so I am conversant with that area very well.
You guys did not do.
You get it. So
you use your money like that. Your personal money.
You saying that
you invest your personal money like that? Would you invest your personal money like that?
Like I was saying earlier.
So the person who put up
political sense, but not
the factory. Secure the money.
It looks like election was coming, and you need
the person who secured the money for the sugarcane.
I quite remember doing
the party did not do well. What about the person who is supposed to take the money and give it to the farmers?
I quite remember close to the 2016 election, there was the rush to commission all kinds of things. There was a rush to commission this, commission that, commission this, commission that, and of course the Green Book and all that.
But we did those things.
So there are things that politicians do, and you know this. I mean, we are being honest here, right?
Are you telling me? Okay,
Second
project was commissioned in 2016. Are you telling me we didn't complete a cycle?
So I was just saying there was a rush to commission things.
Are you telling me the project for Rich Hospital was commissioned to this? Are you telling me we didn't complete
let's wrap it up and bring it to an end. I mean, we've done.
Let me ask the last one. We completed University Medical Hospital. Are you saying that we didn't finish it?
The medical hospital, you know the state in which you commissioned it, right?
That project was done.
No, it wasn't.
You see, don't feed into the narrative of this disingenuous government.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't feed into the narrative.
Can I come in, please?
Come in.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, like I was saying earlier, they're talking about the government debt. There are things that are not politically sound, but economically sound. That's a typical example of what he's talking about. What the NDC did in before they left power for the commander did not make any economic sense. But it made political sense.
Yeah.
Why do you say so?
And then in
Why do you say so?
elections were coming.
Yeah, you commission a factory that doesn't produce the sugar.
That is not
exactly with
you commission it and close it the same day.
Yes.
Why did you close it the same day? Because there's no sugar cane.
No, who says it was closed the same day?
When was it closed? The next day?
I don't. Do you have any facts to that effect?
Was it closed the day after?
No. Do you have? You see, people who were even paid by the government to do the dirty work for the government later came out to confess. Captain Simmons and Co., who were paid to do the dirty work for the government, later came to confess that.
I'm asking you when it was closed. Was it a day after or 2 days after?
It was closed when this government took over.
Oh.
It was closed when this government took over.
No,
It was closed when this government took over.
no way.
Think beyond politics, because some of these things go just like the debt we're talking about. It's all about the government's, the president's agenda, so that he wins the 4 years. He wins another term to continue. That's why the president minister is borrowing so much money to complete the agenda.
Dr. Like I said,
For me, I think our governments should stay
let
away
me
from
assume without even admitting, okay? Let me assume without even admitting that we were wrong. We didn't plant the sugar cane.
And I agree with you.
Should that take you 6 years, even though we have the money there for you?
I agree with you. It shouldn't.
What kind of incompetence is this?
It shouldn't. But if you're talking about incompetence, then you talk about your own incompetence.
No, ours cannot be described as incompetent.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
We've been up for a couple. There's somebody who wants to come in to say something.
Yeah, he wants to come in, but his device is showing us error. He stepped out and he's trying again. That's Sonoma. If he comes in, I'll bring him in. But otherwise, I think we've done almost 3 hours. It's Saturday. You know, I know Dr. Toh, you've been working, so the baby needs some time.
Yeah.
Lifetime Legacy, you need to go read some book and you need to go revise your notes on why it is important to make sure you have your raw materials at the same time that you are commissioning things. You know, nobody would use their own private money that way. You know, it's a noble idea. We love it. We love those things, but also for political expediency, this government doesn't want you to register or win in your record, right? They don't want you to say, hey, I have built a sugar factory. Okay, so here he comes again, but I can't bring him in because his device is showing error. So if you're listening to me, Dr. Asanoba, I can't bring you in because your device is showing error. It would be best for you to log in front of a computer with your laptop, but it appears you're using some mobile device that is showing error. Okay, so we've been on for a couple of hours. Thanks for the commitment to the show and coming to give us all this good information today. Lifetime Legacy, let's hear from you. What is your last word for all the things we discussed today? We hope that some of what we discussed today would be what the president and his cabinet come up with when they emerge from their crunch discussions tomorrow. They are going to be wrapping it up tomorrow. So we hope that they come up with some of these solutions and perhaps do us a favor, go to the IMF. That's what I think. What do you say on that?
Alfred, like I said right from the beginning of the show, I don't expect anything new. It is the same old beer bottle that is refilled with the same, with different brew of Akwateshi. Okay, it's the same beer bottle. What I'm saying is that it is the same Kufuado, it is the same Baumia, it is the same Oforiata, it is the same people. I would have expected something different if they have invited the brilliant ideas from the NDC folks. Okay, just to mentioning somebody, one of the deputy ministers, I think the deputy minister for energy was yesterday admitting that a tweet was made by alert mode, and when they implement it, they realize that it is a good idea. They should bury their arrogancy and approach NDC, who have a big ideas for superior ideas for problems like this. We have been there before. As the saying goes, experience is always the best teacher. We have experienced what they are experiencing now, not the magnitude anyway, but if they approach people, they can give them a superior advice. And also, the earlier they go to the IMF, the better for them. I don't believe the government or the president have what it takes to be disciplined. So we need the headmaster like the IMF to discipline them. The earlier they do so, the better for them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ato. The ministries being proposed by the IEA are Finance Ministry. They want one minister, one deputy minister. Foreign Affairs, one minister, one deputy. Justice, one minister, one deputy. Agriculture, one minister, one deputy. Trade and Industry, one minister, one deputy. Interior, one minister, one deputy. Defense, one minister, one deputy. National Security, one minister, one deputy. Energy, one minister, one deputy. Land and Minerals Resources, one minister, one deputy. Education and Science and Technology, one minister, one deputy. Health, including Sustainable Environment, one minister, one deputy. Local Government and Rural Development, one minister, one deputy. Roads and Transport, one minister, one deputy. Sports and Youth, one minister, one deputy. Tourism, one minister, one deputy. Culture, including chieftaincy, one minister, one deputy. Employment, Gender and Social Protection, one minister, one deputy. Work and Housing, one minister, one deputy. Communications, one minister, one deputy. Parliamentary Affairs and Information, one minister, one deputy. Altogether, 20. And that will cut
They fail to mention transport, aviation, and harbor, which is even having 6.
I'm saying that this is the proposal to have 20.
Yeah, I think they should include that one. If that alone can say four what do you call it? Ministers.
Yeah, he's cut that one out. He's just proposing that we have transport and what?
Transport alone.
Road and transport.
All the rest will be under.
So all those other ones should be part of transport and roads. What do you think about that, Dr. Ato? In your final analysis, what do you think about that? Those ministers I've just mentioned and all the other things we talked about. Do you also see that perhaps we should go to the IMF and forget about this E-Levy thing so that we don't put unnecessary undue pressure on our people? And do you think, I personally think that the rate that the Bank of Ghana was holding throughout the year, last year they were holding the policy rate at 13.5%, and then they eventually increased it to 14.5%. All when indicators are showing that the rate is being unreasonably held too low because it's going to cause inflation. It's going to cost too much money in the system. You have to raise the rate so we can siphon some of this excess liquidity flowing around. Do you think we should increase that? They are suggesting a 2% increase, but I think 1.5% to be enough. What do you think on all these things?
I mean,
conclusion?
The first part is with the what I believe should happen is that, like I keep saying, all governments have the agenda. So unless Akufo-Addo is able to forget about some of his agenda and then his agenda and think about the nation in the whole, then it would help us be financially responsible. I was going to say that, imagine we have 30 million people. Imagine how many ministers we have, and compare that to America, country of 100 million people.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So I agree that we have to cut. I am all for a smaller government. It doesn't make sense that we have so many ministers than all these people.
Right.
We should find better ways of cutting down the government and making sure that that we do is okay. Also, right.
Your video is out though. If you can bring your video back on.
Give me one second. My son is disturbing me.
Your director is there pressing the button, sir.
Yes. So also what I'm saying is that if you, I'm hoping that the expenditure that would come out from all these meetings will not be as expensive as we've seen in the past. People going to meet to discuss this we're going to spend so much money. It will not make any sense. So I know government has better ideas on how to make sure that we stay in track. But then they come up with ideas, VSHS, one district, one down. So all those ideas, these are the purpose of why we get into power, because we're only thinking about how to run government. That's what we think about all the time. Like the NDC. NDC thinks that if they build a factory before December time, they'll win. So we have to move beyond just thinking about the ideology, winning power, and then move towards thinking about the economy really well. Otherwise, every time we're going to be making mistakes like this. We build factories without raw materials. We just borrow without any planning on how we're going to pay. So I hope that this government is making sure that the hardships on Ghanaians will not be unbearable anymore. Because right now, if you call anybody, everybody's complaining. It's like we cannot find better ways to manage the economy than to tax people to pay E-Levy. That people are already suffering. So in a nutshell, I hope the government come out the government and make sure that we make prudent decisions that would inure to the better ideologies that we all as government or as a people would appreciate that this government is doing, and then leave the department alone, leave all those organs alone, because it will not help us. In the past year or so, we've gone through a lot, and Baumia is not nowhere to be found. We are talking about digitalization, which I don't think it's government is of the moment. It's not what's going to happen 3 or 4 years now. Right now we are suffering, so the government should find ways and means to come up with ideas and solutions so that we would all feel comfortable. I don't know if Lifetime has anything to say about that.
Yeah, isn't it problematic to you too that the vice president who we counted on to be our ears and eyes when it comes to the economic issues has suddenly disappeared and is nowhere to be found, nowhere. We haven't seen any of the solutions. Are we defrauded? Do you feel robbed when it comes to that?
In a way, you can say that, but then, like I said, you would not. No one envisaged COVID. No one envisaged the Russian-Ukraine war. So, in that terms, I would not say defrauded, because in the first 4 years of the Akufo-Addo administration, we saw an improvement in the economy. We saw
the improvement you saw was due to things they've done. Your highest growth was in 2017, which is actually a recording of things that happened in 2016.
That things we did proud to their coming.
After that, it's been on a downward trajectory.
That is true, but misleading. But the NDC never had a pandemic like that. The NDC never had a.
Hey, Dr. Tu.
It came in 2020, right? We are saying that.
Dr. Tu.
Pandemic.
Before then,
Dr. Tu, the NPP got 32 billion cedis for COVID. It was rather a blessing to the government.
Right.
NDC, if we had gotten that money, do you know what we would do with that money?
No, but you don't discount the pandemic. It throws you are in finance. It throws, you make projections, and without 3 months people stay home. People are not working.
Dr. Tu,
I agree that the government had money, which they.
Dr. Tu, that is one third of the money NDC got or NDC borrowed. 1/3.
But I'm saying
so
that
1/4 of them. Yeah, I think it's 1/4 of the money NDC
I'm
borrowed.
holding brief for the NDC. I'm only saying that the NDC, if you're comparing, did not have a pandemic, did not have a Russian-Ukraine war.
I think you skip to like the latter years of MPP, right? Because we are saying that in 2017 is the highest they've seen in some economic performance.
I know,
but in 2018, 2019, we rather saw a downward trajectory from what is recorded.
That is when their incompetent was.
But Ghanaians felt the need to re-elect them again. Ghanaians felt the need to.
Well, that is a different matter, right? Because I mean, as to whether that election. We
also had Ebola
another time because there are so many verdicts on that election to where
we also had Ebola.
Somebody would tell you that it is hard to see a Ghana where parliament is that split. Meanwhile, the presidency shows the numbers we've seen. But again, I said,
that's democracy. I don't know.
NDC actually won majority in parliament.
That's why we added the big
NDC actually won majority in parliament.
Okay, so let's bring today's to an end, and I want to use the opportunity to say a big thank you to both of you at Dr. Atto and Lifetime Legacy. It's been a great week, but I believe that some of the discussions that are being had this week would change the course of the rest of the year, if not the year to follow. In other words, a decision has to be made as to whether, in fact, the E-Levy is something we are going to stick to and pass it, or we are going to go to IMF. I wouldn't be surprised if come tomorrow or come Monday, there was an announcement that the government is going to go to IMF to get some relief and cushion the impact of the economic hardship that is currently underway in our country. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Bank of Ghana increased the rate, which means it's going to be very expensive to borrow. Even if you look at the Ghana reference rate, right, which is the reference rate is really a weighted average of the 91-day, what do you call it? The 91-day treasury bill, the government's, the Bank of Ghana's monetary policy rate. And if you look at that, it's on an increase. It's actually about 14.1 or so. I'm not seeing it. It's actually about 14.1 or so as reported by the Bank of Ghana themselves, which is an increase from its previous state. So basically what that tells you it's actually 14.1. It went from the last time we saw it as 14.1 was March of 2021 when it was 14.3. Then it decreased to 13.8, 13. But what it's really telling you is that the rates at which people are, and the thing that is impacting that increase is the treasury, the 91-day treasury bill, treasury rates, right? What they're charging for the 91-day treasury bill. And that has been on the increase, which is telling you that people are demanding more for the 91-day treasury bills that they will purchase. So that is an indication that the real rate, which is the MPC, which is the monetary policy rate, should have gone up, but it has been kept low for a very long time, even though you could see the reference rates going up. And currently the reference rate is back in the 14s and it's heading up. So it tells me that we wouldn't be surprised to see an increase in the rates come tomorrow or come on Monday when we see the press release from the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. All right, so that is it. If you're in Ghana and you ride vehicles to work, maybe talk to your boss and see if you can work from home, if you can afford the data to actually support that, or perhaps maybe commuting, all right, where you and people who live close to your area can use one car to maybe a central location, and then you join other cars that are going to where your work is located. We do that here in the United States. We do the park and ride. Say it again?
Carpooling.
We do the park and ride where we take our car, we go and park it at one specific place and jump into other people's car who are going to the same destination as us. And it saves on gas. I mean, you cannot chip in something little to the driver, so we all buy gas together, and it all helps. So this is a time that as citizens, you should also contribute to lessening the impact on yourself. If we all put our cars on the road, what happens is we create unnecessary traffic, and we sit in the traffic and burn gas all day. That's not helpful. With that, I say thanks for watching the show. You want to say anything before we go again, guys?
No, thank you. I think greetings to our favorite listeners.
My last comment is first to try to come out of hibernation.
All right.
Anytime he realized that the odds are against him, he ran away. He should try and come next week.
Well, I'm sure FI is listening, and FI, you heard that. They said anytime there's bad news, you get an emergency, which I understand. You know, bad news calls for emergencies, right? So it's all in order. But we hope to see you next week. Again, this is the Ghana Agenda. We are on 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 p.m. Central Time. When you're in Ghana, that will be 6 p.m. for you. We'll be back next Saturday with some good information to share. Please share the link so others can join. My name is Alfred Amozu. Thanks for watching. We will be back next week. Have a good rest of your week.